Let me tell you about a young man named Bobby Boucher, who since he was a kid, all he wanted to do was be the water boy for his local college football team.
And that's what I call high-quality A2.
Unfortunately, Bobby was mistreated so badly and for so long that one day, he had just had enough.
Look at me, I'm the water boy, dude. I got a wooden spoon, dude.
You're making fun of me.
And this is where Coach Klein discovered that Bobby might be able to play some football. And he told Bobby to think about all the times that people were mean to him and just use it on the field. And this is the story of where the water boy begins. So today, we will be bringing Bobby Boucher into college football 25 and playing out his career. And before we pick which college to go to, Bobby has to figure out which mental ability he wants to equip. And Bobby says he's 100% a team player. He just wants to play football, and he'll play anywhere as long as he can hurt somebody. So we're going to go ahead and take team player for Bobby. We got Bobby Boucher coming in as a run-stopping middle linebacker, but other than that, he's just about ready to pick his college. And it turns out that Bobby's college decision was much easier than he thought it would be, because he knew no matter what, he wanted to stay close to home for mama. And obviously Coach Klein is the one who saw potential in him, so Bobby made the decision to sign with the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. And now that Bobby's finally on the team, he's ready to head to practice and compete for a starting spot. And in his first practice, Bobby's actually doing pretty well. I mean, he's really impressed Coach Klein. I mean, he's shedding blocks left and right, he's getting past 300-pound linemen, and he's tackling the ball carrier every time. Bobby does so well in his first practice that he earns himself a gold, and he's ready to get into his weekly agenda. And as you can see, Bobby's investing some time into his training, but also his classes, because Coach Klein already warned him that if he doesn't do well in school, he might not be able to play football. So Bobby finishes his weekly agenda, and he's ready to get into his very first college foosball game.
Cajuns of the University of Louisiana and the site of the clash we have in store today. We've got a terrific matchup for you today, rich in pageantry and tradition, and it ought to be a fantastic clash. As we'll see, the Pandas taking on a team from the Sun Belt, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. 48 Sports College Football, I'm Reese Davis, joined here in the booth by David Pollack and Jesse Palmer. And guys, let's get.
And I guess that practice must have really impressed Coach Klein, because you guys might be surprised to find out that Bobby was playing in the very first play of the game. And he immediately started thinking about all the times people were mean to him. And on the very next play, Bobby is humbled because he's having a hard time catching up to the ball carrier. And Coach Klein decides to sub him out. And the next time Bobby goes in, he realizes pretty quickly that they are trying to run the ball away from him, as it seems to be the only way that they can really get the ball down the field, other than Coach Klein taking Bobby out for extended periods of time. As you can see here, Bobby is subbed out all the way until after halftime. This game definitely showed that Bobby has a lot of room for improvement, but he's still got that dog in him. And after the Pandas fail to pick up this first down, that pretty much ends the game and seals the first victory of the season for Bobby Boucher and the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. And after the game ends, Coach Klein tells Bobby that he wants him to compete for the starting spot at middle linebacker. And Bobby is thrusted into his very first position battle. But before Bobby does that, he has to handle a couple things, because one of his teammates told him that since he's a freshman, it's his job to carry the seniors' pads. But unfortunately for the seniors, Bobby got to get home to mama for the night, so he don't got time to carry nobody's pads. But going into the position battle, to say that Bobby did good would be a gross understatement, as although he did have his fair share of struggles, he did also show very clearly what he's capable of. As through 2 drills, he pretty much already secured the starting spot, and the rest was really just for show. So now that Bobby has earned the starting spot, he is going into his next game with full confidence and trust from his coach, as the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns travel to take on Kennesaw State.
Welcome to Kennesaw, Georgia, in the greater Atlanta area and home to the Owls of Kennesaw State, where these fans have been eagerly anticipating this one all week. What an exciting matchup we have in store for you this afternoon, built around the pageantry, tradition, and everything that makes college football great. As we'll see a squad from the Sun Belt, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, taking on a team from Conference USA.
Starting this game off on 3rd and 2, and Bobby makes his presence felt very early with a little forearm check to the running back. And the next time Bobby's on the field on third down, he doesn't really have to do much to make a stop, as Kennesaw State's quarterback is afraid to make a play and slides well before the first down marker. Taking us to the end of the first half, there's a play on first down where one of Bobby's teammates actually drop a pick, and for whatever reason Coach Klein decides to take Bobby out the game for it. So coming back after halftime, Bobby is now angry and ready to make a big play. So as soon as he sees the hole open, he steps up and lines up the running back and whiffs! And for whatever reason, one of the wide receivers for Kennesaw State started making fun of Bobby, calling him a Louisiana lizard licker, and Bobby did not take too kind to that. And later on in the fourth quarter, Bobby discovers a new perspective on the field, and he's not entirely sure if he likes it yet, but Bobby would have made a really good play here if it wasn't for the fact that he was offsides. So Coach Klein said that he's seen enough, and decides to give Bobby some rest and take him out for the rest of the game.
They won the game today. That's 2 in a row.
And before Bobby gets into his next game, Coach Klein wants him to work on some pass coverage drills, because Coach thinks that Bobby is going to be tested soon, and he knows that it's not one of Bobby's strong suits, so he wants him to be better prepared than he is right now. And now that Bobby is finished, he and the Louisiana Raging Cajuns are ready to take on Tulane.
Of Louisiana, a battle in the boot. See who gets a leg up. As we'll see a squad from the AAC, the Tulane Green Wave, taking on a team who is rested and ready coming off a bye, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns.
Starting off on 2nd and 11, Bobby gets blocked out the way and the defense allows a 6-yard gain. And on the very next play, Bobby goes into blitz, and it's too bad that he doesn't put his hand up, because the pass is completed right over his head and the ball carrier runs for a 40-yard touchdown. The Raging Cajuns defense is back onto the field to start the second quarter, and the offense was able to make the score 13-7. Tulane tries to run a sweep to the right, but Bobby is over there to sniff that shit out. And later on in the drive, Louisiana's defense gets a stop and allows Bobby to get off the field and get some rest till the second half. After halftime, Bobby decides to blitz, but decides not to after realizing that it's actually a run play. And unfortunately, not only does Bobby get punched right in the face in this play, but he is also called for the offsides. And on the next play, Bobby is looking to blitz again, but Tulane is able to make a big completion down the left sideline. And on first down, it's pretty much like deja vu, because Bobby blitzes again, they complete a pass, but this time the defense forces a fumble, which is picked up by Louisiana and allows Bobby to come out the game for pretty much the rest of the game. And although the Raging Cajuns are now 3-0, Bobby is going into next week looking to make some major improvements. So he gains the ability Blow Up, which should help Bobby shut off some more blocks. And just keeping up with Bobby's weekly agenda, he spent some more time playing football and on school, because he met this girl, Vicky Valancourt, that made him feel good about being a college boy.
Whatever, college boy. Don't say college boy, here comes mama. Oh, okay.
But now going into the following week, Bobby Boucher and the Raging Cajuns are on the road to take on Wake Forest.
Fans have been filing in and getting ready for this game. As we'll see, the winners of 3 straight, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, taking on a squad hoping to prevent another L this week, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. 48 Sports College Football.
We started off here in 3rd and 8, where Bobby is able to push the blocker into the ball carrier and help make the stop on 3rd down to cause the change of possession. And on the next drive, Bobby is able to shut off a block and get over to his teammates to help make the tackle on 1st down. But then Bobby is taken out to the second quarter, where it seems that Wake Forest is actually driving down the field. And on the very next play, the Raging Cajuns defense let up a touchdown. And on the next drive, with the Raging Cajuns down 1, Wake Forest is able to complete a pass to the right side for a 1st down, and Coach Klein decides to take Bobby out the game until the second half. After halftime, somehow the Raging Cajuns are up 28-7. Louisiana lets up a huge gain on the ground, but I think the Wake Forest running back must have heard Bobby Boucher coming, because he fumbled the ball with a bunch of defenders around, but luckily Wake Forest was able to recover the ball. And later on in the drive, Bobby thinks he has a Wake Forest wide receiver lined up for a huge hit until the guy cuts upfield and runs past all the defenders for a touchdown. And Bobby wasn't a fan of that touchdown, so the next drive, some of his teammates are able to stand up the ball carrier, and Bobby comes in to lay a big hit on him. And on 4th down and 10 here, Wake Forest, for whatever reason, is trying to go for it. And it ends up being a terrible decision, as one of the defenders picked the ball off and take it all the way back for a pick 6, effectively ending this game.
How about that D coming?
And after the game, Bobby is asked by a reporter who is to credit for the team's success. And he decides to give all the credits to his teammates, because his mama still doesn't know that he plays football, and he doesn't want to give her another way to find out. So going into the following week, Bobby Boucher and the Louisiana Raging Cajuns are taking on Brett Favre's old team, Southern Miss.
Team recharged after a much-needed bye week, the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. 40 goals and dreams.
We start the game off on 3rd and 3, where Bobby's able to shed a block and get off on the edge, and help make a stop to send it to 4th down. Unfortunately, Coach Klein decides to sub us out until the 2nd quarter, but when Bobby gets back in, he's right back to helping his team make some tackles.
Give it on the inside. Get him on the ground.
But on this 3rd down, when Louisiana is up 10, the defense somehow allows a huge bomb down the right sideline that goes all the way for a touchdown.
Touchdown, Southern Mississippi. Hauled it in and just kept.
At the end of the 2nd quarter, with Louisiana still up by 7, Southern Miss decides to try to move the ball down the field instead of taking a knee, which turns out to be a terrible decision and ends up as a pick 6 for the Louisiana Raging Cajuns.
Touchdown, Cajuns. And this defense coming up with.
And I shit you not, the Southern Miss quarterback did not learn his lesson because he throws it right back to the same area and gets it picked off again for another pick 6.
Take it all the way back. Touchdown, Louisiana Lafayette.
And for some reason after this play on 2nd and 4, the Southern Miss quarterback and some other players thought it was a good idea to start talking crazy to Bobby.
Red 18! Needle dick! Needle dick! Needle dick!
Yeah, I bet that quarterback regrets all that talking now. And on the next play, Bobby is still upset that they called him a needle dick, so he makes sure to let them know that.
2nd and 13. Little touch pass.
And on 3rd and 7, with Southern Miss down 38-10, this game was pretty much over, even though they did complete a pass down the middle that went for a good chunk of yardage. And before Bobby gets into his next game, he decides to spend some time being a leader, because his teammates have grown to respect him over the past few weeks. And then he goes off to practice to work on some tackling drills before he gets into his next game against Appalachian State.
Raging Cajuns of the University of Louisiana and the site of the clash we have in store for you today. Today, a couple of Sun Belt rivals ready to square off. As we'll see, the winners of 3 straight, the Appalachian State Mountaineers, taking on the winners of 5 straight, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns.
And before the game, some of the Appalachian State players found out that Bobby is actually the WaterBoy. So after this play, they chose to make fun of Bobby without thinking about the consequences.
Gatorade.
H2O.
Gatorade.
H2O.
Water sucks. It really, really sucks. Water sucks.
No, stop
It
saying
really,
that.
really
You don't mean it.
sucks.
You're bad people.
And at the end of the first half, Appalachian State is down pretty bad, 24-7, as Bobby Boucher almost gets his first interception of the season. But Bobby did make a couple more plays in this game before he got pulled for the rest of it. One here to start the 3rd quarter where Bobby helps his teammates make a stop on 1st down. And then again on 4th and 2 where Bobby himself makes a stop, pretty much ending the game. And now Coach Klein feels confident taking Bobby out and giving him some rest. And later on in the week, Bobby's academic advisor let him know that he is getting all C's for his classes. Which, as far as Bobby knows, C's get degrees, so that's good enough for him. But on top of that, many fans have watched him make big plays all season, so now he has become a fan favorite. And now going into next week, Bobby and the Louisiana Raging Cajuns are ready to take on Coastal Carolina.
The Chanticleers aren't far behind. Today, a showdown of a couple of foes from the Sun Belt. As we'll see, the winners of 6 straight, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, taking on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. 48 Sports College Football, I'm Reese.
Starting off this game on 2nd and 12 where Coastal Carolina is getting the mistake started early, because the quarterback throws the ball to the right side and it's picked off for a pick 6 the other way.
Looking for more room. Touchdown, Louisiana.
And if you look at Bobby, he's hyped. He just doesn't know about the trash talk that Coastal Carolina is about to talk to him the next play.
Best of luck to you on the upcoming play. I'll be playing with your mama tonight.
62.
And if there's one thing y'all should know, it's that Bobby Boucher does not play about his mama.
Drop kicked it. Looks like Boucher knocked him out cold.
I love my mama very much. Now you know that.
Later on in the drive, I think Bobby Boucher has the Coastal Carolina offense so shook that he causes a false start just based off his aura alone. And after that, Mr. Coach Klein said that he's seen enough and decided to take Bobby out the game and let him rest. And before his next game, Bobby actually makes friends with one of his teammates who offers to start driving a class together with Bobby. But now, Louisiana is ready to get into another game, but this time against Texas State.
And we expect our crowd to continually inhabit and make their presence known in this game. We're really looking forward to this matchup. You've got a team that's made its way into the top 25, now trying to pass it all.
And Bobby is a little late to the party, but he realizes right at the start of the game that Louisiana is now ranked 24th in the nation. So he comes out with a little bit of extra energy because he realizes that if Louisiana continues to play well, they might have a shot at playing in the Bourbon Bowl later in the season. But Texas State does a hurry up on this third down, and they're able to pick up the first down. And unfortunately for Texas State's running back, later on in the first quarter, Bobby Boucher starts seeing some demons.
What's the matter with you, boy? You too stupid to do what your coach tells you? No.
No what? You see, now I actually feel bad for that kid because he didn't even do nothing. Later on in the drive, Texas State is able to complete a first down the right sideline. And I think Coach Klein believes that he'll need Bobby in the second half, so he decides to take him out until then. After halftime, Bobby sees an opportunity to blitz the quarterback. But unfortunately, the quarterback's able to throw the ball away. And later on in the fourth quarter, although Texas State is down 14, they call a nice screen play here, and they're able to get down the field for a touchdown. But on top of that, they're able to complete a pass right in Bobby Boucher's zone with a 2-point conversion. But unfortunately for Texas State, their quarterback might actually be blind, because for some reason he decides to throw it in almost quadruple coverage, which allowed for a Louisiana defender to pick the ball off, returning it all the way to the crib for a pick six, effectively ending this game, and giving the Raging Cajuns another opportunity to stay within the top 25. And later on in the week, one of Bobby's classmates tried to get him to cheat, but Bobby's smart enough to study on his own, so he decided to do that. So going into next week, Bobby and the Raging Cajuns are ready to take on Arkansas State.
Battle coming up here. You know how chaos can ensue if they start smelling an upset. As we'll see a team coming off a crucial bye week, the Arkansas State Red Wolves taking on the 19th ranked team in the land.
And Louisiana's defense did not get off to a great start because on the very first play, they let up a 30-yard rush up the middle. But in the second quarter, Arkansas State's running back became a victim of Bobby's demons.
Halt! I forbid you to talk to that enchantress. She's the devil.
She's not the devil. She's the most beautiful woman in the world.
I never said she was the devil.
She's the most beautiful woman in the world.
Oh, please don't hurt me.
Unfortunately for Bobby, that would end up being one of the biggest plays in the game for him, as Arkansas State was able to complete a pass right over Bobby's head for a big gain. And then after halftime, the quarterback throws the ball down the right sideline and completes it for a huge play that ends up being a touchdown.
Nothing but green ahead. And he eluded the defense, and he'll take it all the way. Touchdown.
And it's too bad that this team hasn't been great at stopping 2-point conversions because we let up another one here. And although on this first down play, Bobby Boucher does a good job clogging up the middle, the very next play there is yet another ball being thrown into the end zone that is completed for another touchdown. And now down 20-14, Bobby is fooled on his fake handoff, and the running back is able to go right up the middle all the way to the end zone for yet another touchdown. And I think after that play, Coach Klein had already given up because he had decided to take Bobby Boucher out of the game until all the way till the end of the fourth quarter when Arkansas State was already ready to take a knee. So going into next week, Bobby decides to upgrade his blow-up ability to silver, which should cause an increase of block sheds, allowing for Bobby to make even more plays. And now Bobby and Louisiana headed to the next game, unranked, playing South Alabama. We start the game off on 1st and 10 where Bobby misses a tackle, but his teammate is there to pick up the slack. But I guess Coach Klein really didn't like that missed tackle, because he didn't just take me out till the first quarter, or till the second quarter, or till the third quarter, because he didn't let me back in until the end of the fourth quarter. South Alabama was already on the goal line, and on the first play, they just throw a slant into the end zone for a touchdown. But as the fourth quarter is coming to a close, Louisiana is able to get a sack on South Alabama right here on first down. But on the very next play, South Alabama's quarterback decided to shapeshift into Lamar Jackson and run for a 70-plus yard touchdown. And now tied at 38 in overtime, we know that we have to make a play here or South Alabama could put this game away, possibly on this drive. But one of the defensive backs picked the ball off, and he is running all the way down the sideline for a game-winning pick-six walk-off touchdown. And the Louisiana Raging Cajuns survive overtime. And after the game, Bobby's academic advisor tells him that he can watch a video for extra credit, but he doesn't really want to do that. He wants to go see Vicky Valancourt now. And after hanging out with Vicky a lot that week, Bobby and the rest of his teammates at Louisiana are ready to take on Troy.
And while today is the final home game of the season for one team, it is more importantly a celebration, Senior Day, as we'll see a squad from the Sun Belt. The Troy.
Starting off the game on first down, Bobby and the rest of the defense do a good job gang tackling, but for whatever reason, Coach Klein decides to take Bobby out the game until the second quarter. And when Bobby gets back in, Louisiana is down 7, and he knows he has to make a big play. So he goes to line up the running back for a big hit. Later on in the second quarter, tied 14-14, this defense is doing a pretty good job in pass coverage, as they only allow a short gain on the first down, and on second down we play such good coverage that the quarterback just has nowhere to throw and ends up getting sacked. Coming back after halftime, Bobby Boucher makes another big hit on the running back before Coach Klein decides to take him out the game. To start the fourth quarter, Louisiana is down 7, and he knows he has to make a play to keep his team in the game, so he lurks in his own and says, "Hey!" Bobby Boucher with the pick, and he is running down the sideline toward the end zone for a Louisiana Raging Cajuns touchdown. Bobby Boucher! Now that's what I'm talking about, Bobby. And I think Coach Klein wanted Bobby to get some rest after that long touchdown, because he took Bobby out for quite a bit after. And on this play here on 3rd and 20, Bobby almost gets the safety here if he would have just calculated the tackle a little bit more correctly. So we find ourselves in yet another overtime, knowing that someone needs to make a play. So on this first down, Bobby and 3 other teammates make the gang tackle to get a stop. And a couple plays later, Bobby drops back into coverage to take away the quarterback's first read. And as soon as he sees him try to roll out, and that's ball game, boy. And the Louisiana Raging Cajuns are now undefeated in overtime this season. But before Bobby heads into his next game against UL Monroe, we're going to check out Bobby's stats for this game. 1 sack and 1 interception along with 1 touchdown that tied the game up. Not bad for a freshman. But now Bobby and his team are ready for a battle against UL Monroe. Starting off the game on first down, up 7 points, and back to being a top 25 ranked team, this Louisiana defense has shown that they're consistently good at gang tackling. And on third down, I think Monroe is trying to run a screen because there's about 5 defenders in the backfield within 3 seconds, and the quarterback has no time to go anywhere. And on the next play, the running back for UL Monroe didn't do anything crazy. He just looked at Bobby the wrong way, and Bobby didn't like that.
It's a draw. He's knocked down in the backfield. He'll lose a couple.
And this game was pretty boring for the most part until the fourth quarter, where the UL Monroe quarterback threw a pick 6 on the right side to give Louisiana the 10-point lead. And then Coach Klein decides to sit Bobby, thinking that shit was going to be sweet. And somehow Louisiana finds himself in their 4th overtime of this season. And Bobby's not a fan of overtime, so he was pretty upset to see that this was happening. But then for whatever reason, Coach Klein decides to take Bobby out. And somehow Louisiana is able to win their 4th straight overtime game. And at the end of the regular season, our academic advisor is letting us know that we're still getting C's. And Bobby is now ready to move on to the Sun Belt Championship and take on Appalachian State. But before Bobby gets into the game, he wants to buy the hammer ability because he thinks it'll be useful. We start off the game on third down, where Appalachian State is trying to run a screen, but the defense sniffed it out quick and they're able to set up fourth down. A little bit later in the first quarter, Appalachian State is able to deliver a ball right over Bobby Boucher's head and pick up the first down. And on a play that was 3rd and inches, Appalachian State tries to run a sweep to the left, but he gets gangbang Louisiana style down to the ground. Moving on to the fourth quarter, Appalachian State didn't really put up much of a fight this game, as although they did score on this play, Coach Klein felt fine taking Bobby Boucher out the game and allowing him to get rested up for whatever potential bowl game they might be playing soon. So as college football is entering bowl season, we learned that Jalen Milroe out of Alabama just won the Heisman Trophy. And because Bobby was curious about who they were going to play in the next game, he went to check the schedule and realized that the Louisiana Raging Cajuns are somehow the 12th seed and are about to go take on Florida State in the college football playoffs. But little did Bobby know that there was a chance that he might not even play in that game, because Mama found out that he was playing foosball and she was not happy.
Foosball? You playing the foosball behind my back?
And after this, Mama became very ill, and Bobby felt like he was responsible for the reason why his mama was in the hospital. Because only if he just didn't play football, his mama would be okay. So Bobby had to let everybody know that he was done playing foosball. And the whole town was disappointed. I mean, they all knew that without Bobby Boucher, they had no chance of winning anything.
Well, wake her ass up! We're gonna win tomorrow!
But the next morning, Mama woke up and changed her mind and told Bobby that he needs to play foosball. So Bobby, Mama, and Vicky Valancourt all got into the boat and tried to get to the Bourbon Bowl as fast as they could, but couldn't get there until after halftime.
Welcome everybody to something brand new and historic. The 12-team college football playoff is here. And an exciting new wrinkle, these first-round games are on campus in front of hyped-up and partisan crowds. Two teams battling for the right to move on to the quarterfinals. And our matchup tonight sets up a potential Cinderella story. The last team to qualify for this 12-team playoff on the road against a team that likely believes it should be resting and watching this first-round game on TV. This is...
Bobby Boucher on the field. Quarterback run away. Reclamación Bobby Boucher time.
Remember when Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl, do you?
And now that Bobby's back, we can start off in the third quarter, where FSU completes a pass to the right side for a first down. And on the next play, nothing's open downfield, so they check it down to their running back underneath.
Another big play by this offense, and it continues to be the pass dynamic and a tough offense to stop.
Later on in the drive, the defense gets a stop to bring it to third down. And after this play, Bobby tells Coach Klein that he wants to come out the game so he can go get his teammates some high-quality H2O. And that seemed to be a really good idea. Because when Bobby comes back, Louisiana is up 10 points on FSU, and here they are getting a stop right here on fourth down. But then the offense gives up a pick six and allows FSU to try to tie the game and get it into overtime. And FSU capitalized on one of the first plays of overtime. As you see here, they score a quick touchdown. So now tied at 43, Bobby knows that somebody needs to make a play, and he gets himself in position to say, Bobby Boucher with the pick to send Louisiana and Florida State to another overtime period. And you can see here, as a freshman, Bobby is one of the captains shaking hands for the overtime toss. I mean, that really shows what kind of leader they have there in Bobby Boucher. And in these overtime periods, they have to score within the 5-yard line, and they don't on the first play, and they do not on the second play, which means Bobby's offense has another chance to score and win the game, and they do! The Louisiana Raging Cajuns have won the Bourbon Bowl and are moving on in the college football playoffs. And they move on to play Texas Tech. And in the first quarter, Louisiana is already up 9-0 until they get this pick here that allows them to even put more points on the board. Now down 19-0. Texas is just trying to make something happen here, and they almost throw a pick to Bobby Boucher. And on second and goal here, they try to run a sweep to the left, but the defense is sniffing that shit out real quick. And on third down, Texas Tech's O-lineman must have been drunk because they let up a sack here in 0.08 seconds. And now down 16 points in the second quarter, Texas Tech's quarterback's looking to make a play, but he doesn't see Bobby Boucher looking in the zone ready to say, Bobby Boucher! At the end of the second quarter, Texas Tech is trying to run a screen pass, and although Bobby's not able to make the tackle, his teammates are there to back him up. And after halftime, Texas Tech is so scared that not only do they get hit with a holding on this play, but they also throw their third pick of the game. Later on in the third quarter, up 30 points, Bobby Boucher lets them know that he still got that thing on him. And after this play on third down, Coach Klein decides to take Bobby out because up 30 points, it's almost time to celebrate. And celebrate they did. Because Bobby Boucher and the Louisiana Raging Cajuns have gone further than anybody in the entire country would have ever believed that they were capable of getting to. Well, everybody outside of Louisiana at least. But the job is not finished, and Louisiana is ready for their toughest battle yet against the Oregon Ducks. On first down here, Oregon runs a trap to the inside and picks up a huge gain, which strikes some fear into the Louisiana defense. On the next play, Bobby is juked out in the backfield to allow for a first down. And the Ducks start taking shots downfield, completing a long one down the left sideline. Later in the drive, Bobby does a good job defending his zone, but there must have been a bust in coverage somewhere because the defense lets up a wide open touchdown. Now down 11 points, Coach Klein gets Bobby back in the game to help make a tackle on first down. And then on second down, Bobby rushes over to the sideline to help his teammate make a tackle in open space, before Coach Klein decides to take Bobby out for the remainder of the drive. On the next drive, as Oregon is too busy double-teaming Bobby, the Louisiana defense causes a sack fumble that leads to a turnover. Now only down 7, Bobby is trying to make plays here as you see he gets in on the tackle on this play. But later on in the drive, Oregon shows how easy this can be for them as they complete another long pass down the field. After halftime, Louisiana is down 17 points, and the defense did a pretty good job getting a stop here and getting off the field. And although Bobby and the defense was able to get more stops in this game, including this one here on third down, Coach Klein knew that the writing was on the wall, so he subbed Bobby out for the rest of the game, and they both sat and watched as Louisiana fell to the Oregon Ducks in the college football playoffs. And now that the season's over, Bobby isn't really sure what to do, because Mama thinks that he can do better than playing for Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And honestly, so does Bobby. So Bobby decides to enter the transfer portal. And as he's deciding where to go for his next college, Coach Klein gives him a call and says, "Hey, I got a new job at LSU. You should come through." So after speaking with Mama and Vicky Valancourt about it, it only made sense for Bobby to stay close to home, still be able to play under Coach Klein, and play some higher competition foosball. So Bobby decided to sign with Louisiana State University. But before Bobby gets into his first game, he's working on some pass rushing drills, because Coach Klein said that he's going to send them on the blitz way more this season. And if you look closely, Bobby is actually practicing a move from one of his favorite wrestlers, Captain Insano. But now that practice is over with, Bobby is ready to get into his first game with LSU versus Clemson.
Backdrop for any visitor, because the Tigers are ready to open another season here at home. We've got a top 25 matchup on hand. Two of the premier teams in the land looking to make a statement that will resonate.
We start the season off on 2nd and 10, and Bobby is making his presence felt early by shutting off a block and help get a stop to send it to third down. But this Clemson team is ranked top 5 for a reason, and their offense starts moving the ball down the field. But on this first down, the LSU defense gets the interception and gives the offense the ball back with a 7-point lead. 1st and 10 back on defense, and Bobby drops back into coverage, but unfortunately creates a pass interference. On 2nd down, Clemson completes a short pass to the left, and the next play, the Clemson quarterback is looking for someone deep, but gets brought down to the ground for another change of possession. On the next possession, Bobby blitzes because Coach Klein said that he wanted him to blitz more, but Bobby allowed a long reception deep in his zone on this play. And as this Clemson offense is trying to get things going, Bobby ends up in no man's land as Clemson completes a pass right over the middle for a touchdown. Bobby, looking to be more aggressive this year, does a good job on this play sniffing out the ball carrier and getting him down to the ground before he can gain any more yards. On this 3rd down, the Clemson quarterback tries to throw a deep pass down the left side of the field, but not only is it picked off, it is returned for a pick 6. Later in the quarter on 3rd down, Clemson throws the screen pass, and Bobby has the ball carrier lined up, but misses the tackle to allow a first down. And even after having a good drive down the field, the Clemson quarterback manages to throw another interception. Looking good after halftime, LSU is up 14 on Clemson, and the defense is able to get a pass deflection here on first down. And on third down, Bobby wanted to make a play too. The Clemson defense seems to be doing a good job preventing the LSU offense from scoring more points. But on this play, you might be surprised to find out that it's actually the Clemson offense that needs to stop the LSU defense from scoring more points as Bobby Boucher recovers the fumble and runs down the sideline for an LSU Tiger touchdown. And at this point, the game almost already feels out of reach. And it feels even more out of reach as Clemson's quarterback manages to throw another interception. But again, Clemson is the number 5 ranked team in the country for a reason, as they're able to score a touchdown here. And from their own 37-yard line, the quarterback for Clemson must have woken up, because he delivered a strike that went for a 63-yard touchdown. And after the LSU offense goes another possession without scoring a single point, it ends up hurting the team as a whole, as Clemson is able to go for their 3rd straight touchdown in as many drives. The defense on this 2-point conversion is prepared though, and they stop the quarterback before they can tie the game. But for some reason, LSU's offense isn't scoring. And if LSU needed points at any time in this game, it would be right now. But the Clemson quarterback delivers another dime right over Bobby's head, and it is actually Clemson that would be the one putting more points up. LSU's offense stalls once again, and on this first down, Clemson seals the game by gaining a first down on the stretch to the right and allowing for their next offensive play to be a knee. Now, the following week, Bobby actually got an offer for an NIL deal. And although it's not necessarily wrestling, Jiu-Jitsu is closely related to the profession of Bobby's idol, Captain Insano. Plus, Bobby felt like this could help him become a better football player, so he took the deal. And now Bobby and the LSU Tigers are ready to take on Louisiana Tech. Starting off this game on 1st and 10, Bobby looks a little lost by where he's going, but still gets in to help make a tackle. 3rd down comes up, and Bobby is the one to come put an end to the drive. But somehow Louisiana Tech scored 7 points when Bobby was off the field, and he made sure to show them that he wasn't happy about that. Because on 3rd down, the Louisiana Tech quarterback gets trampled. LSU's offense is struggling again this game, and the defense lets the team down further by allowing a first down on 3rd and 1. And then Louisiana Tech throws a touchdown, but then one of the wide receivers started talking bad about water.
Gatorade not only quenches your thirst better, it tastes better too, idiot.
You're drinking the wrong water.
So Bobby drops back and Bobby wasn't done there, because on this next play, Bobby makes a play so great that you can hear one of the fans screaming next to the sideline mic.
But Bobby Boucher! Bobby Boucher! He's here! And he's ready to play. That's Bobby Boucher. He's here. He's here.
And that just goes to show how much this LSU fan base loves Bobby Boucher, as he helps make the stop right here on 3rd down. And right when you think he can't get any better, Bobby Boucher makes another play, an interception, but this time going all the way to the end zone for an LSU Tiger touchdown. Bobby has had an outstanding game, and he has made the clutch play to really put this one away. And going into next week's game, Bobby actually got another NIL deal, but this time from a car company. But then Bobby remembered what Mama once said, that cars were the devil. And that's why Bobby still drives a tractor. Bobby and the LSU Tigers are ready to play their next game against Akron.
A storied venue, and soon the fog will rise off the Big Muddy, and will it also bring a victory for the beloved Bayou Bengals, Tiger Stadium, home of LSU.
We start the game on 3rd and 11, where Akron's quarterback completes a pass up the seam for a big gain that goes for a first down. And that would probably be the biggest play of the quarter, because Bobby and the Tigers get a stop here on third down. And then again on another third down, where it feels like the quarterback didn't even have a chance. And on another third down in the second quarter, Bobby lays the boom on a receiver who thought that it was a good idea to come across the middle. And Bobby is doing a good job finding the football this game as he gets in on another tackle. And things just really aren't going Akron's way here, as the quarterback isn't ready for the snap and the ball is pitched all the way back behind the line of scrimmage, where it's picked up from an LSU defender and returned all the way back for a touchdown. And right when you thought it couldn't get any worse for Akron, the quarterback sets up the play action and takes a shot downfield that is waiting to be met by the hands of an LSU defender. And Akron was able to find some success on offense as they were able to punch in a touchdown later in the third quarter. But on a 3rd down and 9 early in the fourth, Akron's quarterback throws his 3rd interception of the game, which resulted in the LSU defender running down the sideline all the way for another defensive LSU touchdown. And although the LSU Tigers aren't too happy that the offense only put up 21 points on Akron, the defense played well all game and gave them something to look forward to the following week. And after the game, one of Bobby's classmates actually asked him if he wanted to go to a party tonight. And since Bobby's teammates and even coaches were going to be there, he decided to go and have fun, and he enjoyed himself. And after a fun weekend out, Bobby and the LSU Tigers are ready to take on Texas A&M.
This Death Valley crowd has been getting ready and hyped for this one. And a game like this is what makes college football great. Yeah, there's history and tradition, but right here, right now, there is tremendous intensity and bitterness on this.
We start this game off on 3rd and 9, and Bobby is looking to wreak havoc early, so he blitzes, sheds the block, and gets in for a sack forced fumble on the first drive of the game.
On the fumble, keeps possession.
Well, just like running backs, quarterbacks have got to do a better job of having awareness and taking care of the football.
And Bobby would not be done there, because although A&M's running back picks up a first down on this play, Coach Klein tells Bobby to blitz again, and it may have been the wrong time for A&M to run play action.
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
And on the very next play, one defender runs at the middle, and Bobby loops around the edge, and they both combine for another sack. And now here on 3rd and long, this LSU Tiger defense is easily able to make it 4th down. And Bobby knows how important this matchup is, so he's doing his best to make a consistent impact early. But A&M is proving why they're a top 5 school as they rush up the middle for a large gain. And as A&M continued to find their way down the field, whether it was through the air or by the ground, A&M would eventually cap off the drive with a slant to the end zone for a touchdown. Back out on defense, Bobby thinks he's about to get the sack, but the quarterback gets the ball out for a nice gain. And A&M is keeping their foot on the pedal as they're able to complete a long pass down the field on 2nd down. And later in the drive on 1st and goal, Bobby tries to blitz, but that might have been a mistake, because the pass gets completed right over his head that ends up going into the end zone for another touchdown. And with LSU's offense struggling like it has been all season, Bobby comes in with a huge hit here to try and gain some momentum. And it's too bad that the rest of the defense doesn't have the same attitude, because they let up a huge gain that ends up in LSU's territory. But Coach Klein dials up a blitz here that ends up in a sack and prevents a touchdown. And for some reason, Texas A&M's running back wanted to open his mouth.
Hey, WaterBoy! Is your girlfriend gonna stain you again?
No, sir. I'm gonna take matters into my own hands. You'll see. Powerbomb. Compliments of Captain Insano.
But unfortunately, Bobby can't do it all himself. And right here, A&M rushes for another touchdown. And after LSU's offense goes another drive with no score, Bobby lays the boomstick one more time before LSU has to accept a 24-3 beatdown from A&M. But after the game, Bobby is surprised that he not only won SEC Defensive Player of the Week, but National Defensive Player of the Week, which will be his first time in his entire career. And that gave Bobby a little bit of motivation going into his next game against South Carolina.
Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, home of the LSU Tigers, one of the great venues in college football. We have a ranked versus unranked battle coming up here. You know how chaos can ensue if they start smelling an upset.
Starting off on 1st and 10, South Carolina is already trying to get tricky, as they try a reverse, but the defense is there to sniff it out. On 2nd down, Bobby gets in to help make a tackle for loss. And it looks like LSU's defense is clamping up early as they get a pick here on 3rd down. And that turned out to be a little bit false, because South Carolina began seriously driving down the field here. And then capped off their drive with a touchdown to the back of the end zone.
Looking for the end zone. And it's caught. Touchdown, Gamecock.
And when Bobby gets back on defense, he realizes that South Carolina has scored 2 points, which means that the offense has given up a safety. And Bobby is really not happy about how the offense is playing this year. So he knows that no matter what the outcome of this game is, he's going to take some time to talk to Coach Klein about it. But in the meantime, Bobby is still doing his part on defense, getting a stop here on 2nd down. And on this 3rd down, Bobby rushes the quarterback and forces him to scramble out of the pocket right into the arms of an awaiting defender. That forces the change of possession. And with the offense finally putting points up, things were looking good until South Carolina was able to complete a pass that went all the way down to the red zone. But luckily the drive had stalled out as LSU was able to force a field goal. And on this 3rd and inches, LSU's defense showed that they weren't messing around this game, because 3 defenders, including Bobby, were able to get the quarterback down for another sack. In the following possession, Bobby took matters into his own hands as he burst through the line for another sack. And on 4th down, South Carolina tries to make something happen, but throws an incompletion, and that pretty much ends the game. But now that the game is over, Bobby makes sure to go and talk to Coach Klein about what's going on with this offense. But Bobby is shocked about what he finds out, because it turns out that the reason why Coach Klein left the Louisiana Raging Cajuns is because one of Coach Klein's closest friends, Red Boy U, stole Coach Klein's green playbook with all of his best plays, and then became the coach of the University of Georgia. And in the offseason, that had Coach Klein going through a mental breakdown.
I know. I'm so numb. I just hate him, I hate him, I hate him.
And now that Bobby understands, he knows that it's going to have to be him and the defense that carries this team to success this year. So LSU and Bobby Boucher come out ready to play against Vanderbilt.
You've got a team that's made its way into the top 25, now trying to pass an all-important road test.
We start the game off on 3rd and 3, where Bobby is dominating the game early. Other than this run play that goes for a good chunk of yardage,
Leaves it with the running back. Got enough for the first down and wants more.
Bobby is getting into the backfield very often and very easily.
Might as well give it to him again. They bring him down and he's going to lose a yard on that one. Got quite a ways to go to keep.
Unfortunately, the defensive backs are caught sleeping on this play.
Catch in the middle, it's Coleman.
And the defense allows Vanderbilt to run in for a touchdown. By the end of the 2nd quarter, Vanderbilt is down 17, and they try to gain some momentum here with a big pass.
Catch in the middle, it's Coleman. And they're just down.
But Bobby is feeling a little extra motivation from what Coach Klein told him, and he gets in here for a sack. And on 3rd down and 19, Coach Klein has Bobby playing corner. And although Bobby gets burnt, the rest of the defense has helped making a stop. And this is exactly the type of performance that Coach Klein needs to see out of Bobby, because Bobby is able to get the stop on 3rd down here. And on the next drive, Bobby drops back to pass and says, that interception pretty much puts this game away, and Bobby has almost won this game entirely by himself on defense. And now going into next week, we see another coach putting more pressure on Bobby to win, because he tells Bobby that if he can get 7 tackles, then LSU will probably win. So Bobby gets the challenge and a little extra motivation going into this next game against Ole Miss.
Hemingway in Oxford, Mississippi, home of the Ole Miss Rebels, where the fans never lose a tailgate and don't plan on losing the game today. This matchup today, part of the lifeblood of the sport.
On one of the very first plays of the game, Bobby shows just how motivated he is as he gets in for a sack.
And this sophomore able to wreak some havoc and get the sack.
The defense just simply not.
But that would be the highlight of the drive for Bobby, as LSU's defense allows a 66-yard touchdown. And it almost feels like Bobby is the only one to show up today, because LSU's defense allows another touchdown, but this time through the air. And once again, here comes Bobby Boucher with another sack on Ole Miss quarterback.
And this sophomore able to wreak some havoc and get the sack.
Play action pass success has
Down 13, Bobby knows this game is up to him, so he quickly busts through the line for a tackle for loss. And although Ole Miss is doing a decent job picking up some yards, Bobby is doing everything in his power to live in that Ole Miss backfield. And as LSU's offense begins to gain some life, Bobby drops back and says, "Hey!" And he puts LSU's offense in Ole Miss territory. But once again, LSU can't do anything, so Bobby goes back to making plays. And on third down, Ole Miss is able to complete a pass for a big pickup. And even though Bobby is really doing his best this game, Ole Miss still finds a way to get the ball into the end zone for a touchdown. Luckily, LSU's offense was able to put some points up, but that didn't really matter, because the Ole Miss quarterback is throwing a strike down the field that goes all the way up the middle for a touchdown. Now tied at 30, this LSU defense is finding itself in trouble as the Ole Miss quarterback is making plays all over the field. But luckily, the defense is able to lock in and get the interception here. Now down by 3, all Ole Miss has to do is get into field goal range, and all Bobby has to do is make one play to end this game. And here on second down with Ole Miss driving, Bobby is thinking about blitzing, but decides not to. Instead, he drops back into coverage and says, "Give me that!" At this point, this possibly makes 3, maybe 4 games where Bobby Boucher ends the game all on his own. So it's no surprise that after this game, Bobby not only wins SEC, but National Defensive Players of the Week. And Bobby knows he has to bring the same energy this week, because now LSU is playing Bama. Starting the game off on 1st and 10, Bobby immediately gets in the backfield to stop the ball carrier right in his tracks. And I don't know if Bama's quarterback had too much to drink or something last night, but he throws right at an LSU defender for an interception. On the following drive, LSU was able to get an easy 3 and out. And then Bobby reminds the ball carrier just how dangerous it could be to run his way. Bama drove down the field a little bit more this drive, but LSU was able to hold him to a field goal. In the second quarter, Bobby does a good job helping everybody bring the ball carrier down. But Bama drives all the way down the field for an eventual passing touchdown on third down. But LSU is still trying to stay focused here as they pick up the option here to get a stop on second down. And Bobby does a great job shedding 2 blockers to get into the backfield on third down. And boy, let me tell you, the following drive, Bobby really makes his presence felt. Because on first down, he makes a stop for a tackle for loss. And on second down, he is single-handedly getting into the backfield for another stop. In the fourth quarter, Bobby rushes the quarterback and brings him down to the ground for another sack on his season. But without Coach Klein's green playbook, The Alabama offense is able to throw a pass down here and tie the game up.
Gets away from one. He's got space. He's loose on the right. The tag. Touchdown.
Now with the game tied up, Bobby is trying to make a play to save his team, but LSU lets up another deep pass down the middle of the field that goes all the way to the crib for a touchdown. And with LSU unable to tie the game, this becomes a heartbreaking loss for Bobby until he talks to a defensive coordinator.
We live by another day. We live by another day. What in there?
And after talking to his coach and winning another SEC Defensive Player of the Week, Bobby is ready to play his next game against Florida.
And a rivalry like this is what makes college football great. Yeah, the tradition and the history, but right here, right now, there's great intensity.
And I won't even sugarcoat it. On the first drive of the game, Bobby drives back and gets an interception to set the tone for the LSU Tigers.
That's a solid return after the interception.
Well, here it is, opening drive of the game.
Unfortunately, not only was LSU able to score only 3 points, but on the next drive, Florida runs down the left sideline for a very long run, and then capped it off with a 1-yard touchdown. Bobby is unable to make the tackle here on first down, and on third down, he feels responsible for allowing this touchdown to happen, as it was pretty much in his zone. But with Florida continuing to make passes down the field and get the ball moving, Bobby knows he also needs to make some plays to counteract that, so he bull rushes into the backfield for a tackle for loss.
You still can't stop the quarterback finding this receiver to be able to pick up another.
And it should be noted that although Bobby Boucher is one of the best linebackers in the country, Florida does have one of the best quarterbacks in the country in DJ Lagway. And DJ Lagway is showing just how good he can be by throwing a touchdown to the back corner of the end zone right here. Bobby and LSU are already down 11. And to make things worse, the Florida running back stiff arms the defender into next week on this play. And Florida is doing a great job on the ground, picking up another 20-plus yard gain. But on third down, Bobby comes in unblocked to help make the tackle for loss. And then before the end of the half, LSU was able to get another stop on third down to prevent any more points. Coming back after halftime, Bobby tries to bull rush his way to the quarterback, and it doesn't work out as the quarterback's able to deliver a strike here. And then on the next play, Florida just runs it up the middle for a touchdown. And with the LSU offense unable to put more points on the board, luckily the defense is there to give them another opportunity as they make the stop here on third down. And on third down here in the fourth quarter, Bobby is hoping that if they get a stop here, then the offense will be able to give them a lead. Luckily, LSU does score 3, but Florida is able to get a nice completion here for a first down. A couple plays later, Bobby's able to help bring DJ Lagway down for a sack. And on fourth down, this should be the game for LSU, especially if they're able to get a stop. And thankfully they do, giving them the narrow 34-31 win over Florida. And after winning yet another SEC Defensive Player of the Week and a National Defensive Player of the Week, Bobby Boucher is riding high into his next game, where he and the LSU Tigers are taking on Arkansas.
Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, home of the LSU Tigers, one of the great venues in college football. There's nothing quite like a great rivalry matchup in college football. The bitterness, the intensity, the lifetime of memories that will come as a result of what
We start this game off how most games have started off for Bobby, with a tackle for loss. And you shouldn't be surprised at this point to see Bobby Boucher with back-to-back plays behind the line of scrimmage. And although LSU plays great coverage here, nobody covered the quarterback, and he's able to scramble all the way downfield for a first down. And the quarterback just proves further how dangerous he is on the ground as he takes a read option here to the right side for a touchdown. And thank God that LSU's offense is scoring points, because the LSU defense seems like they really want to allow some. Because this Arkansas offense is having a really easy time getting the ball downfield, whether it's through the air or on the ground.
Now improvising. Quarterback gets the first down.
And on first and goal, the LSU cornerbacks have a hard time tackling in space, so they let up a touchdown here. And on this first down, Bobby bull rushes up the middle and almost gets a sack. but he can't bring the quarterback down to the ground, and his teammate is there to clean it up. And on third down, the Arkansas quarterback tries to escape from the outside, but he is brought down to the ground by the LSU Tiger defense. And before the half ends, Bobby gets one more tackle for loss in the backfield.
They'll knock him down, and that'll take us to halftime.
But honestly, Arkansas's offense came out of halftime looking forward to executing. Because on third down, the Arkansas quarterback is able to throw it into the end zone for another touchdown. And LSU's offense better seriously be thanking the defense, because while the offense is struggling, the defense finds a way to get a stop here on third down. And Bobby comes out the next drive really upset that the offense is not putting points on the board.
Who that? Who there?
And as great as Bobby is, it's hard for him to be everywhere at once, as his defensive group lets up another touchdown. And with the offense refusing to put points on the board, Bobby knows that LSU is in deep trouble here, and it only gets worse as Arkansas is able to run down the right sideline for another touchdown, which pretty much puts the game away. And the Arkansas Razorbacks are able to kneel this one out for an 11-point win. And going into the following week, Bobby once again wins SEC and National Defensive Player of the Week, which makes him start to think about where he might be in the Heisman rankings. So Bobby decides to go ahead and check the rankings, and lo and behold, Bobby Boucher is leading the Heisman vote with only a few games left of the season. But Bobby is really just trying to get back winning again. So he locks in to focus on his next game against Western Kentucky. And in this game against Western Kentucky, LSU really dominated on both sides of the ball, as the Bobby Boucher-led Tigers would get continuous stops, just like they did here with an interception. And with Bobby Boucher taking over and dominating play after play after play, this one turned into the biggest blowout of the season, where LSU won 44-0. And with only one game left in the regular season, Bobby goes to check his stats, where he realizes that he is actually leading the entire SEC in most categories, possibly cementing himself as one of the best linebackers or defensive players in general in the entire nation. But Bobby knows the job's not finished, as he and the LSU Tigers need to close out the regular season with a win against Oklahoma. And to start this game, Bobby comes out a little slow, missing a tackle that ends up going for a first down. But on third down, the defense is able to create some pressure and force an incompletion. When Bobby gets back out on defense, he emphasizes trying to rush the passer, but the Oklahoma quarterback does a good job getting the ball out quickly and makes a completion for a first down. And I think one of Bobby's LSU teammates might be sleepwalking, because he allows a completion right behind him, and it goes all the way down the left sideline for a touchdown. And to say that the LSU defense was struggling would be a little bit of an understatement, because Oklahoma was able to convert a third down for a big gain, and then a rush that was able to go all the way down the field to put them at goal to go. But here on third down, Coach Klein dials up a blitz, and LSU is able to force a field goal. After the game is tied up, Bobby tries to go for an interception, but it goes right over his fingertips for a big completion. And on second down and 3, Bobby Boucher is being double-teamed, and not one other LSU defender can get to the quarterback before he gets down the field for a nice gain. But later on in the drive, although Bobby misses the tackle, his teammate is there to help him out and put an end to the drive. And right before the half, Bobby is getting in the backfield for another tackle for loss, and maybe plays like that will help him get more Heisman votes. Coming back after halftime, LSU had Oklahoma on a 3rd and 9, but they were able to make a huge completion up the middle. And then here again on 3rd and 7, but they're able to run to the left to pick up a first down. And before Oklahoma gets too far down the field, Bobby tries to get in the backfield, and he does make a stop here for loss.
They tackle him behind the line, a loss of 4.
But on 3rd and 19, that LSU DB unit is letting up another big play down the field. LSU was able to get it to 3rd and 19, where they were eventually able to get a stop. But that's only to be caught right back in the same position next drive, where the quarterback completes a pass and Bobby makes a receiver regret coming across the middle. As they get inside the goal line, Bobby is doing everything he can to disrupt that backfield, as he gets a tackle for loss here, and then reroutes the ball carrier back towards his other defenders. Unfortunately, there's a touchdown on a play where Bobby almost intercepted the ball. And by the 4th quarter, LSU was down 3, and Bobby Boucher was finding himself in the backfield still. Right when they needed them most, the LSU defense gives the offense another opportunity to put points on the board. And after LSU takes the lead, Oklahoma began driving down the field and put themselves in a position to take the lead with little time left. But I think the Oklahoma quarterback had LSU's money line because he throws it right at the defender to end the game. But Bobby Boucher, Coach Klein, and the LSU Tigers are definitely not complaining because they have just secured themselves a spot in the college football playoffs. And now it's time for Bobby to see if he won any awards. And although Bobby Boucher did have a great season, even he didn't expect that he was going to win Player of the Year. But not only Best Player of the Year, because he also won Best Defensive Player of the Year, Best Linebacker, and the most prestigious award in college football, the Heisman Trophy, becoming the first linebacker to win the award since Ernie Davis in 1961. And although Bobby Boucher is feeling on top of the world, he really wants to bring Coach Klein and his teammates along with him and get to a national championship. So they gear up for their first playoff matchup against Michigan. And Bobby lets Michigan know very early that he is going to win this game, as he gets in the backfield for a tackle for loss on the first play. And then later on 2nd down, Bobby fakes a blitz and then drops back to pass and says, "Mwah!" And he is running down the sideline, juking guys out to put his team in a position to score. And as great as it is that LSU did score, Michigan's running back apparently took that personally, because he takes the first carry and runs all the way down the field for a touchdown. And right when Bobby thinks that he's doing a good job staying in his zone, an LSU cornerback lets up a touchdown at the front right pylon. Now up 7, Michigan is trying to pound the rock, and they're doing a really effective job at it. But on 3rd down, Michigan's quarterback Alex Orji is trying to escape pressure, but Bobby Boucher is chasing after him for the sack. And on 4th and 19, Bobby is out on the field just in case they run a fake field goal. And somehow this Michigan kicker is able to make a field goal from 60 yards. And now down 7, Bobby knows that someone's going to have to make a play. And who better to make that play than Bobby Boucher? His 2nd pick of the game, giving LSU a huge momentum swing. And Bobby is absolutely not done, getting in the backfield for a tackle for loss in the next drive. Not just once, but twice. And then on 3rd down, this LSU defense is able to force Orji out of the pocket and get him down to the ground. But this Michigan kicker might actually just be Adam Vinatieri or Justin Tucker or something, because he drills another 60-plus yard field goal. And after Bobby allows the first down on this play, the Michigan running back starts acting crazy.
Bring it to the hole! You're mine!
Woo! 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 He sounds like a big choo-choo train.
It's all over. Wow, that is a disturbing image.
And although the LSU defense has done a good job so far this game, they let up a big play down the sideline that puts Michigan in position to score another touchdown that puts them in the lead. And now all Bobby can do is watch as the season hangs in the balance of an offense that struggled all year. But Coach Klein dials up a big play and LSU is able to take back the lead. And now here on 4th down, LSU was able to force an incompletion, and you'd think that'd be the end of the game, but no. Michigan has another opportunity to put points on the board here, but the Michigan quarterback rolls out to the left and can't escape the sack from the LSU defenders effectively ending this game. Now Bobby and LSU Tigers are only 3 games away from winning a national championship. And speaking of national, Bobby wins another Player of the Week. But after the game, Bobby finds out that LSU is going to have to play against Georgia, the same place that Coach Klein's old friend, Red Boy U, went. So now Bobby has a little extra motivation to beat Georgia and get Coach Klein's manhood back. So Bobby and the rest of the LSU Tigers get ready to go to war. To start the game off, Bobby is out there in coverage, but Georgia is doing a good job driving down the field and getting first downs. In the red zone, Bobby gets in behind the line of scrimmage to help make the tackle for loss. And on third down, the Tiger defense is able to force pressure to get an incompletion. On the next drive, Georgia shows why they're so good by picking up a big gain on this run. But then Bobby Boucher shows why he's so good by getting in the backfield for another tackle for loss. And the defense gets the stop on third down to force a punt. And LSU's offense did get points on the board, but on one of the first plays of the next drive, Georgia's running back cuts up the middle and goes all the way down the field for a touchdown. Now tied at 10, Bobby is dedicated to doing his part. But he's not even sure whose part that was that led up a huge completion down the right sideline. And with Georgia's O-line blocking like the Great Wall of Dallas, they have no problem rushing up the middle for another long touchdown. And it's really the offense this time that's keeping the defense in this game, because the Tigers' defense is seriously letting them down, allowing a long completion right before half, and then eventually a touchdown to the front of the end zone. Luckily, after halftime, LSU's offense is seriously carrying this game because they scored 10 points on 2 possessions to take the lead. But unfortunately, these LSU corners are playing like they have been all year and let up another huge gain down the right sideline. And right here on fourth down, LSU pretty much has the opportunity to end the game, but it's the cornerback on the opposite side that allows Georgia to get in the end zone and take the lead. And now, in the biggest moments of the game, Bobby Boucher knows that his team needs him. So he is making plays on 2 straight downs that is putting Georgia in an uncomfortable position. And after the LSU offense is able to put up more points, it is now the defense's turn as they get an interception here and go all the way down the sideline for a touchdown, ending this game and winning them the Bourbon Bowl. And this was one of the biggest moments of the season for Bobby Boucher, the LSU Tigers, and specifically Coach Klein, as he finally gets revenge on Red Boy U. And after the game, Bobby is asked by a reporter who is to credit for this team's success, and Bobby, being the most unselfish person you'll probably ever meet, he just says his teammates as always. But as great as that moment was, the season is not over, as LSU now has to play a rematch against Texas A&M.
We've reached the semifinal stage. One last hurdle to clear before that national championship game. And today we're going to find out who's got the toughness and the depth to continue their drive and keep championship dreams alive. As we'll see the number 5.
To start this game off, Bobby Boucher is making multiple plays in the Texas A&M backfield. And already LSU is feeling really good about themselves, and they think that they might end up dominating this game. But this Texas A&M team does find a way to drive down the field through the air. And Bobby does his part by getting a stop in the backfield for a loss, before the defense forces an incompletion on third down, setting up A&M for a field goal. On the very next drive, A&M shows why they are in the position that they are, as their running back breaks off a huge run down the right sideline, and that goes all the way down to the end zone for a touchdown. And Bobby knows that all he can do is just show how great he is by getting back in the backfield once again. But this is where Bobby realizes that the cornerbacks may have been the biggest issue all season, because this feels like the 50th time this season where the LSU's defense let up a 50-plus yard bomb. After halftime, Bobby helps make a stop on the first drive. But then later in the quarter, A&M drives down the field and delivers another strike to the end zone. LSU finds himself tied in the fourth quarter with A&M, and Bobby is doing everything he can to make an impact on the field, even if that means going in at cornerback himself to help make a stop on third down.
Gonna kick some names and take some ass!
But unfortunately, this A&M offense is proving to be a little bit too much for the LSU defense, because they allow another touchdown halfway through the fourth, and after the LSU offense is unable to put up more points, A&M easily drives down the field and finds himself in goal-to-goal territory. And sadly, that would be the end of the season for Bobby Boucher, Coach Klein, and the LSU Tigers. But Bobby Boucher is anything but discouraged, because he still gets to go to school, play football, and he won the Bourbon Bowl in back-to-back years. And when we take a look at Bobby's stats for the season, 130 total tackles, 57 tackles for loss, 13 sacks, 8 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns sounds absolutely insane. But Bobby Boucher did it. He has become one of the best linebackers, if not the very best linebacker, or really player, in the entire country, where Bobby makes it evidently clear to Coach Klein that he has no intentions of transferring anywhere. And not only because he really loves his mama, and she would never let him go that far from her, Bobby's main goal is to now win the national championship. And Coach Klein agreed to try to give Bobby some more help on defense, while also trying to make that offense a bit better. And now heading into the following season, Bobby saw that Coach Klein did a good job developing and recruiting some players on offense, but the defense seemed to have some real ball players now, whether it was incoming freshmen like Brock McCracken, or this other beast of a linebacker Tylen Singleton, who was actually rated higher than Bobby Boucher. But there are also many other players on this defense that Bobby is super excited to hit the gridiron with and win a lot of foosball games this year. But before they get into their first game, Bobby wants to see just how improved this defense might be. And from what it looks like, it seems like everybody's pretty locked in. Whether it's the defensive backfield or these young emerging linebackers, Bobby liked what he was seeing. But before the game, one of the defensive coordinators challenged Bobby to 5 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. So Bobby was extra locked in going into his first game against James Madison.
And it is Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, home of the LSU Tigers, one of the great venues in college football. We have a ranked versus unranked battle coming up here. You know how chaos can ensue if they start smelling an upset.
We start the season off on 1st and 10, where Bobby is missing a tackle and allowing a pretty decent game. And James Madison seems pretty confident in their game plan because they are moving down the field quickly early on in this drive.
Hit the gas, kid, wide open ahead. Just trucks.
But that couldn't last forever as Bobby Boucher makes his first big play of the season with a tackle for loss. And then here on 3rd down, Bobby gets out to the edge to make sure the quarterback doesn't get into the end zone. And on the next drive, Bobby is working to be in the backfield again, getting his 2nd tackle for loss. And although Bobby misses the tackle here on 3rd down, his teammates are there to clean it up. When James Madison gets back on offense, they're able to break off a run for a big gain. So on this next play, Bobby decided to take matters into his own hands. LSU did get a little lucky on this play, as the receiver dropped the ball on a potential 1st down. But at the end of the day, they have Bobby Boucher, and he is always ready to make a play. But that doesn't mean his teammates are always ready to make a big play, because right here they let up a big play on 3rd down and 10. And on the very next play, James Madison is throwing a dart into the end zone for a touchdown to take the lead. Right here, Bobby's trying to go for the first safety of his career, and although he doesn't get it, later in the drive, the defense does get an interception that helps bring the ball all the way back down the field for a touchdown to take the lead back. And now Bobby is continuing to make his presence felt, as he is frequently getting in the backfield. And you can see Coach Klein's recruiting in the offseason really worked, because these guys are also able to bring the quarterback down to the ground. But James Madison would continue fighting later on in the fourth quarter, even getting himself a touchdown here to get themselves back in the ball game. And this game has really become a close ball game because not only did they get the 2-point conversion, but the LSU offense failed to put up any points to extend the lead. So now the LSU defense knows that they have to make something happen here. And they work really hard to get a stop here on third down. And even though James Madison was able to score a long touchdown right here, the LSU offense was able to not only put up points, but chew down enough clock to end this game. And after the game, not only did the DC give Bobby a good job for his performance, but he also got offered an NIL deal to do some work involving physical therapy. But then Bobby thought about it, and he remembered that one time where Mama said that physical therapy was the devil. So he decided to decline that. And now Bobby Boucher and the LSU Tigers were ready to get into their next game against the Clemson Tigers.
Unlike any other in sports, very intimidating for visitors. As they say, this is where visitors' dreams come to die. This is not just any other matchup. Both teams come in ranked in the top 10, colliding early in the season.
Starting this game on 3rd and 8, Bobby notices that the Clemson running back is going out for a swing pass. So he follows the guy out there and basically levels the guy horizontally to prevent the first down. On the following drive, Bobby is working to get himself in the backfield. And although he doesn't quite make the tackle here, his teammates are there to finish the job. But on this 2nd down and 21, Bobby Boucher is looking to get the job done himself. Now, as you can see, Bobby Boucher and his teammates are really feeling themselves right now. And for the time being, they have every right to, because Bobby Boucher is getting out there to stop the screen pass on 3rd down. But with LSU's offense going almost the whole first half without scoring a single point, Clemson was bound to take advantage of that eventually. But LSU's defense stayed locked in and did a great job preventing the amount of points that Clemson would score on this drive. And with LSU's offense seemingly giving the ball right back, plus with great field position, Clemson was in a great spot to make something happen here on this drive. And they sure did, because on this first down, they were able to complete a pass into the end zone for a touchdown. And then going into the 3rd quarter, Clemson would seemingly maintain a lot of that momentum. And they did a great job getting down the field here. But Bobby Boucher has great instincts on this play and snuffs out the screen early. Clemson found themselves back in the red zone, driving deep into LSU territory. But on this 2nd down and goal, Bobby bursts through to smack the quarterback and force his first fumble of the season. And thankfully, LSU picks it up, resulting in a turnover.
This offense just blew an opportunity. Have a nice lead here in the 2nd half with the football. The last thing you want to do.
And now with LSU finally putting points up, this game looks a little bit more interesting. But it seems like Clemson is having its way with this LSU secondary right now, because they're able to easily find a guy open in the front left pylon of the end zone to extend the lead further. But this defense didn't give up, so they stopped the 2-point conversion on this play and got consecutive stops in the backfield on 2nd down and then 3rd down. And with LSU's offense now having an opportunity to take back the lead, they get all the way down to the goal line before the quarterback is sacked and the time runs out, resulting in the first loss of the season for LSU. And even with the loss, Bobby wins SEC and the National Defensive Player of the Week once again. And he and the LSU Tigers are ready to bounce back in their next game against SMU.
James and SMU hoping to restore the glory and get things started in this one. And boy, do we have a fun one ahead. Top 10 team, target on their back, going on their road and right into the snake pit.
We start this game off on 2nd and 4, where SMU is moving down the field pretty easily. And SMU's opening drive was actually met with very little resistance from Bobby and the rest of the LSU Tigers.
He has the first and still on his feet. And
because in under 2 minutes, SMU was able to get themselves into the end zone to take the lead. And after the LSU offense fails to put up points, Bobby leads by example by getting a stop here on this play, and they follow right behind him by getting pressure on this next play and creating a sack. Now tied 7-7, Bobby wants the defense to stay locked in, but they allow a huge completion down the left side of the field. And right as we think SMU might be able to get down the field and get into the end zone again, LSU's defense comes up with a huge play downfield, causing the interception and getting the ball right back. And although LSU did not put up points once again, Bobby felt real comfortable about his defense getting a stop here on this drive. The defense held them to another 4th down, but SMU picked it up anyway. And then on top of that, once they got into the goal-to-goal situation, the quarterback just ran it in for a touchdown. Bobby was trying to make his presence felt by laying a huge hit on a receiver on this play. But on this 3rd down, the SMU quarterback kept his eyes downfield and found a receiver deep in the end zone for a touchdown. But now with the game back tied, Bobby went on to make some big plays to let SMU know that it wasn't going to be easy for them to get down the field all night. And on 3rd down, Bobby's teammates delivered that message too by getting in the backfield. With LSU now up by 7, SMU found their way down the field and into the goal-to-go territory once again. But after the LSU defense does a great job here on 4th down, SMU is left with one Hail Mary and an opportunity to win the game if they can get into the end zone. But the defense holds tight, and Bobby and the LSU Tigers escape this game with a win. And this season, Bobby is really looking forward to becoming the best player and leader that he can possibly be. So he put some time this week into doing just that. And now going into his next game against FCS East, Bobby felt even more motivated and ready to go.
Today, we have one of those games that tests your focus. Top 25 team.
Bobby didn't even want this game to be close. So he thought about all those people who used to laugh at him just a couple years ago. And not only did Bobby keep this energy all day, but the rest of his defense did a great job following his lead. Bobby Boucher was wrecking this team, as if it was just a practice or a little mini workout. FCS East had absolutely no run game, and Bobby and the rest of his defense barely even let them get past midfield. But there was some plays where FCS East did get lucky and exploit the weakness of this defense, finding men open downfield for a touchdown. But there wasn't much for the Astronauts to do when Bobby Boucher was looking around the middle, looking to make a play any way that he can. I mean, they were really trying to run from Bobby, but they couldn't hide. And after Bobby Boucher goes for another sack in this game, he is recognized for getting his 20th sack of his career. And then it's just right back to business, where Bobby is getting in the backfield for another tackle for loss. And after Bobby goes for just one more TFL, Coach Klein decides to take Bobby and the rest of the starters out and have them sit for the remainder of the game.
Thank you all so much for being my friends.
The following week, Bobby finds out he wins another SEC and National Defensive Player of the Week. Bobby knows they have a very important game coming up this week, so he puts some time into his health and being a true leader for this team. But on top of that, he's able to upgrade some of his quickness, so he makes sure to do that. Because Bobby, Coach Klein, and the LSU Tigers are about to face off against Coach Red Boy U and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Two teams ranked in the top 10, colliding right here in the middle of the season, trying to make a strong statement. Big playoff implications. Because we'll see a team fresh and ready to go off a bye week. LSU Tigers.
To start this game off, Georgia is trying to make a statement early by picking up a big gain here on second down. But that LSU defense continued to stand strong, forcing a Georgia field goal that may or may not be too far out, because this Georgia kicker actually misses it. With Georgia only down by 6. They're working down the field to try to take the lead. And after Georgia gets stopped and attempts another field goal, they somehow actually make this one. But Bobby had to keep making his presence felt by getting in the backfield once again. And here LSU was able to get the stop on third down to force Georgia to another field goal attempt. And Georgia just comes right back out swinging. And they must have found a weakness in the defense because they're attacking the left side once again. And as they move further down the field, they're actually able to find a man in the end zone for a touchdown. After halftime, LSU found themselves down 10, with Georgia continuing to drive once again. And on this 1st and 10, Georgia is set up for an opportunity for an easy score, and they take advantage of it, putting the ball in the end zone for another touchdown. And at this point, LSU's offense is not only doing a bad job putting up points, but they are continuously setting up Georgia with great field position. But LSU's defense continues to fight, getting a big-time stop here on third down. Now only down 13, Bobby knows if he can continue to put pressure on that Georgia offense, he can give his own offense an opportunity to succeed. So he gets in the backfield twice on this drive. And on this third down, LSU's defense is able to get the stop and allow the offense an opportunity to make this game closer. Now down by 6 late in the 4th quarter, LSU's defense fights to get the stop here on third down, which gives the team 1 minute left to try and get down the field and take the lead. But LSU's offense once again just can't get it done. And with one more big rush here leading to a first down, Georgia is able to take a knee, chew out the rest of the clock, and take this victory.
That's college football. You're going to have your highs and lows. They had big expectations.
But neither Bobby nor Coach Klein were too worried about that loss, because they still had playoff spots to fight for going into their next game against Texas.
Stadium, home of the LSU Tigers, one of the great venues in college football. We have a ranked versus unranked battle coming up here. You know how chaos can ensue if they start smelling an upset. As we'll see, the win.
We start this game off on first down, where Bobby Boucher is setting the tone early. And then later on in the drive, he gets into the backfield for a stop to put an end to it. After the first quarter was mostly a stalemate, Texas is able to find a receiver open on the left side, who runs up the field and into the end zone for a touchdown. But later in the quarter, LSU comes up with a pick that gives their offense the momentum to get down the field and score their own touchdown. Now up 3, LSU is in great position if they can get a stop here on third down, but somehow the defense leaves the flats wide open, and Archie Manning recognizes it and gets him the ball. And I guess absolutely nobody on this defense was in position to make a play, because the ball carrier is able to get down the field and into the end zone for another touchdown. Now trailing here in this game, Bobby knows that he's going to have to make his presence felt. So he tracks down the receiver after the reception and lays a huge hit on him. But Texas was determined to take some of that momentum back. And their quarterback was the lead catalyst for that, as he was finding a way to get the ball down the field to open receivers left and right. And right as Texas is looking like they're in position to go downfield and score yet another touchdown, and you see Bobby Boucher drop back into coverage and say, "Mwing-ah!" Bobby Boucher with the pick, and he has stolen back the momentum for his team. And that momentum carried over into the next drive, as the defense gets a stop in the backfield here on first down, and then forces a punt here after this third down. And Texas definitely gets a lot of credit here because they continue to fight. And they even got the team going in hurry up just in case they're able to get a quick score. But on this play, the quarterback drops a little bit too far back, and he is eventually sacked, stripped for a fumble, and turns the ball over. Texas is trying to make something happen here, but Bobby Boucher comes up with the pick to give his offense the ball back and effectively put this game out of reach. For the past season and a half, Bobby Boucher has been carrying this LSU team. But he's going to have to keep it up against his next SEC opponent, Missouri.
We have a ranked versus unranked battle coming up here, and you know how chaos can ensue if they start smelling an upset. As we'll see a team fresh and ready to go off a bye.
This game started off a bit slow for LSU, only picking up a field goal on their first drive and allowing big rush yards on this drive. But Bobby made sure to put an end to that by getting in the backfield here on third down. Throughout this game, Bobby and the LSU defense continued to stand strong. And the LSU offense did a pretty good job continuously putting up points. But this felt like another game that Bobby Boucher was taking over because he would get in the backfield for a sack on this play. Well, he was taking over the game other than when he got penalties.
They're trying to get to it. That's caught. It's Roberts. He's brought down, but there's a flag on the field. Let's see what the call is.
And somehow all season a weakness for this defense has been allowing big yardage up the middle or down the sideline almost every game. But the LSU defense does tighten up on this third down to limit Missouri's points on this possession. After Bobby lays a big hit here on first down, Missouri begins indicating that they're already done with this game. And although they would continue to fight down the field, and even get in the end zone one more time, right when Missouri thought that they had made a big play downfield and set themselves up, Bobby runs over to the ball carrier and says, "Boom! Give me that ball!" It's once again another game where Bobby Boucher makes a play to save the day. And LSU was able to escape another game with a big W. But after the game, Bobby's academic advisor is letting him know that his grades are slipping. And he could come in for extra help if he wanted to, which he agrees to. And Bobby thought it was a miracle because immediately after receiving that text from his advisor, he received an offer for an NIL deal that would allow him to increase his GPA. And Bobby knows anything that's going to help him stay on the football field is likely worth doing. So he accepted that deal. And now Bobby and the LSU Tigers are ready to go on the road to take on the Tennessee Volunteers.
This big crowd ready to roar. They know when the Volunteers run through that tee, it's showtime. And wow, do we have a fun one here ahead. A top 10 team walking into the snake pit of an environment just trying to get out alive. This will be fun as we'll see the number 2 team in the country, the LSU Tigers, taking on the winners of 4 straight, the Tennessee Volunteers.
We start this game on first down where Bobby Boucher is getting in the backfield. But that Tigers secondary is playing soft, allowing a very big gain down the field. And unfortunately, Bobby is stuck on a block in this play because none of his teammates are able to bring down the ball carrier before he gets in the end zone for the touchdown. Now tied at 7, Bobby does a good job getting his defense off the field here on third down. But I guess that LSU offense just didn't come ready to play today because they are putting their defense in a really bad spot, allowing Tennessee to start with great field position. But the defense does a really good job taking care of that and limiting Tennessee's points on this possession. The following drive, Bobby drops back and almost gets a pick, but the pass is completed and the receiver is free to run down the field and into the end zone for another touchdown. That LSU offense is doing a good job keeping up, and that LSU defense is doing its job trying to shut things down. And now with the lead back, LSU just needs someone to keep making plays. And who else but Bobby Boucher ya! Bobby! Another interception on the season, and he has got his offense the ball back. But unfortunately, not only do they not score, but Tennessee comes out the next drive as if absolutely nothing happened. They got all the way down the field until this third down, where they ran into this brick wall called Bobby Boucher. And with LSU still having the lead, the absolute last thing that they needed was exactly what happened on this play. A bunch of missed tackles leading to a very big gain down the left sideline. Thankfully, this LSU's goal line defense was great all season and finds a way to put an end to the drive here on third down. And although they were still trailing, Tennessee made it very clear that they had no intentions of giving up, because they continued to make big plays down the field, putting themselves in position to score a touchdown, which eventually came on this play on first down and goal. And it was bad enough that they scored a touchdown, but allowing this two-point conversion started to put some pressure on LSU. Luckily, Bobby Boucher has always responded to pressure well, and the defense was able to get off the field here on third down. But somehow Tennessee scored a touchdown while Bobby was off the field. And now Bobby and this LSU defense are really in danger, because there's a possibility that they could give up the lead here. But on this first down and 10, Bobby Boucher drops back into coverage and says, "Gimme that!" Bobby Boucher with another pick? They might as well start building a statue for that man. But even with that pick, you'd be surprised to find out that Tennessee still has an opportunity to win this game. And on this play where it looks like LSU might get a sack, the quarterback is able to get the ball off, and he completes the pass all the way down the field inside the goal-to-goal territory. And with the defense feeling like it's going to be a guaranteed run on this play, nobody is covering the flats, and Tennessee gets into the end zone for a game-winning touchdown. Because no offense to the LSU offense, but Bobby knew there was no chance that this offense was getting down the field to score. So unfortunately, LSU would be sent home with a heartbreaking loss. And Bobby thought it was cool that he won SEC Defensive Player of the Week again, but he was done with that stuff, man. He wanted to win. And taking losses like this was not going to help them get to the national championship. So going into the next game, he focused on training and getting his schoolwork done so he can maintain his eligibility. But before the game, one of Bobby's defensive coaches, Farmer Fran, wanted to give a speech to pump up the defense after their most recent performance. And Bobby was so inspired by that, he listened to every single word and took it into his next game against Mississippi State.
Start Vegas, where earplugs are highly recommended because the cowbells will be ringing. This matchup today, part of the lifeblood of the sport.
To start this game off, Bobby is doing what he usually does by getting in the backfield. And here on third down, that defensive front seven is putting real pressure on the quarterback, eventually resulting in a sack. The following drive, Mississippi State tries taking back some of that momentum because they make a huge play down the sideline and they pick up a big gain. But I think one of the Mississippi State linemen forgot to block Bobby on this play because he is once again in the backfield to stop the running back in his tracks. And Bobby Boucher got this defense feeling himself today. And they might have that quarterback feeling nervous because he throws the ball out of bounds. And on the next drive, he just accepts that Bobby Boucher is coming. And he doesn't even try to evade the sack. Bobby would continue to apply pressure, but Mississippi State started to get downfield and apply some of their own. But on third down, this LSU defense got home to create a sack, and they forced a field goal. And at some point, you got to start feeling bad for Mississippi State's running back. But now down 17, Mississippi State knew they had to try to make a play. And they did a great job making it a game again by getting a touchdown on this play. But at some point, the score was starting to become too much, even though Mississippi State did rattle off some bigger plays later on in the game, including a touchdown on this play to bring the lead down to 21. But Bobby remembered he had a date with Vicky Valancourt, so he was trying to get this game over with. Bobby forces a huge fumble and recovers it deep into Mississippi State's territory. And you might notice that Bobby Boucher put so much fear into this Mississippi State quarterback's heart, but Bobby barely even hit him. He pretty much just gave him the ball and ran. But that quarterback did show that he had a little bit of heart, because he came back the next drive and threw a touchdown. And by the end of this game, the Mississippi State skill players were being destroyed by Bobby Boucher, and the quarterback was afraid that when he dropped back to pass, Bobby Boucher might say, getting another pick on this season and forcing another turnover. But Bobby wasn't done yet, because as if the quarterback wasn't scared of him enough, Bobby rips around the lineman for another sack. And then there's some pretty unexplainable stuff happening. And now Bobby and the LSU Tigers are rightly so very excited, because they won a game against an SEC opponent, put another win on their board, and increased their opportunity to get a national championship. And Bobby once again wins Defensive Player of the Week. And Bobby doesn't usually care about stats, but that game against Mississippi State might be the best game of his career. He's happy that he's able to be such a major contributor to a team, and he's looking forward to keeping it up in his next game against Auburn.
And it is Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, home of the LSU Tigers, one of the great venues in college football. There's nothing quite like a great rivalry matchup in college football. The bitterness, the intensity, the lifetime of memories that will come as a result of what we're about to see in this one.
To start this game off on 1st and 10, Bobby goes unblocked and is able to lay a big hit on the running back. And Auburn came up empty on this drive after failing this third down conversion. Deep in Auburn territory, Bobby is once again getting in the backfield. And the defense is so inspired that someone causes a fumble on the ball carrier, and Bobby Boucher is right there to pick it up. After the offense only scored 3 points, LSU's defense wants to continue making plays, but Auburn wants to start making some plays of their own. But this defense was really too much for Auburn, because throughout the whole first half they only scored 3 points, and even when they were able to pick up big gains, Bobby Boucher would be right there to push them back. One of Auburn's best drives of the game came here in the third quarter, where they were able to get deep down the field before Bobby Boucher happened. And Bobby's teammates would often join in on the fun, making a lot of plays of their own. But then out of nowhere, everything changed, because that Auburn quarterback just threw the ball up and they scored a one-play touchdown. And now only down by 5, Auburn was somehow in great position to take the lead. And eventually the quarterback would find someone open in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. But it was great that they didn't get the 2-point conversion to extend that lead. And the defense just worked to get back to their greatness by getting a stop here in the backfield, and then getting a pick here to give the offense the ball back. But after the offense fails to put up points, this started to look like a really bad position to be in. But Bobby and that defense stepped up here on third down and gave the offense an opportunity to go back down the field and regain the lead. And with only 30 seconds left, Auburn was making pretty decent progress down the field themselves. And they could have had another big play here if it wasn't for LSU's defense coming up with the interception to finally put this game away. But the job was definitely not finished, because Bobby and the Tigers had another SEC matchup against the Kentucky Wildcats.
And soon the fog will rise off the Big Muddy, and will it also bring a victory for the beloved Bayou Bengals? Tiger Stadium, home of LSU.
We start this game on third down where Kentucky is able to rip off a huge rush. But then Bobby Boucher is finding himself right where he belongs, in the opposing team's backfield. And the defense was able to keep up that momentum as they got a stop here on third down, and then another third down in the second quarter where Bobby handled it himself. And although Kentucky did eventually convert one, LSU's defense would eventually hold them to 3. And with LSU's offense still having 0 points even after halftime, every time Kentucky kept getting down the field, it started to get more scary. But Bobby did continue to try to make his presence felt, and it worked as he helped the defense get off the field here. But the rest of that defense just really wasn't locked in, and they let up another big gain down the sideline. But they did do a good job preventing a touchdown here on this play. Now with the game tied, the defense decided to step up, and they were able to get off the field on this drive. And now down by 7 with 30 seconds left, Kentucky is looking to make a play, but Bobby Boucher comes up with the pick and brings it into the end zone for his first touchdown of the season. And at that point, this game was pretty much over, and Bobby Boucher and the LSU Tigers were ready to move on to next week. But before his next game, Bobby wanted to upgrade his quickness one more time and check out his stats to see how he's doing compared to other players, and it turns out that he is still the best. And now Bobby is ready to get into his next game against Texas A&M.
As we wind our way toward the end of another college football season, one of the grand traditions is paying tribute and respect to those who have just poured their souls.
To start this game off, Bobby Boucher is trying to take the running back's head off. And if not that, he wants to make sure that he doesn't come a foot past the line of scrimmage. And on this first drive, Bobby's defense is locked in, and Tylen Singleton gets in for a sack. The following drive, Bobby reminds the running back that Bobby is his worst nightmare. And on third down, the Texas A&M quarterback taps into his Stevie Wonder vision and throws it pretty much directly into the hands of an LSU defender. And with Bobby continuing to set the tone for this LSU defense and continuously living in Texas A&M's backfield, it was getting real hard for them to make any progress down the field. Because if Bobby didn't make a play, someone else was bound to. And just like every other game, this LSU defense would let up a few big plays. But it was okay, because Bobby Boucher was always there to make a play. Bobby Boucher. Texas A&M's offense was doing so bad that their defense had actually scored more points than them. But A&M would continuously find their way into opposing territory. And even though LSU got a pick here, but then Bobby is reminded that his offense isn't much better, because they give the ball right back with great field position. And Texas A&M finds a way to take advantage. After failing the two-point conversion, Texas A&M can still drive down the field and tie the game up.
Unloads it left. All kinds of room.
And with 5 seconds left on the clock, it's almost like a Texas miracle because they were able to get into the end zone for a touchdown. And not just that, because they went on ahead and got that two-point conversion too. And now in overtime, A&M has put some serious pressure on LSU because they got down the field and scored a touchdown. And now all Bobby and the rest of this defense can do is hope that the offense is able to get into the end zone to not only tie the game, but then again to take the lead. And thankfully they do. And after Bobby and his defense holds A&M to this fourth down, the game is coming down to one play, and the pass falls down to the ground incomplete, and LSU is able to escape this game with another win.
This team has to love their ability to.
And after the game, Bobby's academic advisor is telling him that he got 3 D's and an F. But fortunately, it won't prevent him from playing ball. And Bobby decides not to worry about it because it is now the end of the regular season. So Bobby decides to check out who his next matchup will be in the college football playoffs, and as of now, it looks like it's going to be Southern Miss. And then he later found out that Tennessee actually won the SEC championship over Georgia. But nobody knows that Bobby is actually dealing with some problems at home, because he invited Vicky Valancourt over for dinner with his mama, but there was an argument and then mama decided to tell Vicky that Bobby pees the bed still. And then Bobby decided to take himself out of the situation because he has a game coming up this week. So he spends his remaining free time training extra hard before he gets the news that he won Player of the Year and back-to-back Heisman trophies, becoming the first player to win the award in back-to-back years since Archie Griffin in 1974 and 1975. But not just that, Bobby realizes that he actually just graduated from college. I mean, he did so good with his schoolwork that LSU told him if he wants to come back for one more season, he doesn't even have to worry about school. But for now, Bobby and the LSU Tigers are ready for their college football playoffs, and their first matchup is against Florida State.
The beginning of this 12-team playoff in front of a home crowd in a raucous environment. And our matchup tonight sets up a potential Cinderella story. The last team to qualify for this 12-team playoff on the road against a team that likely believes it should be resting.
And we start this game off no different than most of the other games, with Bobby Boucher in the backfield. And even though FSU picks up a nice gain here, LSU lets them know that they're not here to mess around. And Bobby Boucher continued to do his part on this drive, but Florida State would find a way to take advantage of the weakness of this defense and get into the end zone for a touchdown. Florida State would find himself once again moving downfield, but LSU's defense decided to tighten up. And this play here on third down was a great time for the defense to get in for a sack force fumble, where Tylen Singleton picks the ball up and runs it all the way back to the end zone for a touchdown. Now up 3, Bobby wants to continue putting on pressure, but Florida State wants to continue putting on pressure of their own by completing a big pass here, and then picking up another first down in LSU territory. But like I said, LSU was not here to mess around, as they held FSU to a field goal on this drive. But FSU was very good, and it showed. Because they got the first and goal and took advantage of it as they got in the end zone once again. But thankfully, LSU's offense started to step up, because after halftime, they were somehow leading by 7 points. And Bobby did a great job not letting them in the end zone by single-handedly ending this drive. The following drive, Bobby Boucher found himself in the backfield once again, and his defense followed suit by creating a sack. But their offense was once again giving the ball back with great field position. And Florida State would eventually capitalize. And after LSU failed to get points, their season looked like it was in jeopardy. But Bobby's defense was able to rise up, hold Florida State to 3 points, and allow his offense an opportunity to come back and tie this game up. And after the offense does their job, the defense does theirs by getting a stop here on third down. But admittedly, there is something fishy that happens on the next drive, because there are clearly 10 seconds left on the clock before out of nowhere it just cuts down to 4 seconds. And this quite literally couldn't have been more perfect timing, because Florida State throws a bomb downfield and they catch it inside the red zone. And they would have had an opportunity to call a timeout, but there was no time left, I guess. And I don't know if Coach Klein made a call to the ref or something, but Bobby Boucher and the rest of the Tigers will definitely take it, because now LSU had another big game against Oregon.
Everyone to Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium, site of this year's Goodyear Cotton Bowl, part, of course, of the college football playoff. We are through the opening round of this year's playoff, and now the pressure is mounting in the quarterfinals.
And to start this game off, Bobby Boucher, once again, in the backfield. And his teammates started off locked in too, because they were also in the backfield. And I'll just shoot it to you straight here. Bobby Boucher definitely remembers his first college football playoffs with the Raging Cajuns. And the Oregon Ducks were the team to take him out. So he was going to do whatever it took to take them out. And even though they weren't there, the rest of his defense were on the same page. Because at this point, Bobby had become pretty much the quarterback of this defense. And them boys wanted to make plays to be on the same level as Bobby Boucher. And every time Oregon got to third down, somebody was going to be there to make a play. Even deep in goal-to-goal territory, this Oregon Ducks team was finding a hard time putting the ball in the end zone as they would throw a pick here. And now down 23, Oregon was going to have to try to make something happen. But Bobby Boucher drops back into coverage and says, "Mwang!" Picking up another interception on his season while getting revenge on the Oregon Ducks in the process. And at this point, Coach Klein feels fine taking Bobby and the rest of the starters out because they have definitely secured this playoff win. And after the game, Bobby looks at the college football playoff bracket and realizes that if they win one more game, they might have to match up against Coach Red Boy U and the Georgia Bulldogs. But as of right now, he does not have time to care about that because he has business to take care of against the #1 team in the nation, Kansas State.
We've reached the semifinal stage. One last hurdle to clear before the national championship game.
We start this game on third down, where Bobby Boucher is shooting out of a rocket to bring the quarterback down to the ground. And just a little spoiler alert, Bobby Boucher is not messing around this game. He's already upset enough that Kansas State decided to put on purple jerseys for this game. But on top of that, they're trying to take away his opportunity to win a national championship? Well, Bobby Boucher was not having any of that. And it seemingly appeared that neither was the rest of his defense. But Kansas State was getting lucky at times, like right here on his fourth down. And then they had to run a reverse just to get down the field. And eventually did punch it into the end zone for a touchdown. And now with the ball back, Kansas State was trying to take advantage of the opportunity that they had. Because they were driving downfield and putting themselves in good position to take the lead. But on this play, the quarterback rolls out and almost runs into a sack. Now with the game back tied up, Bobby is just trying to do his part. Because he knows that if his offense doesn't lock in like Kansas State's, then the defense is going to have to. So he does a great job continuing to live in that Kansas State backfield. But now down by 3 in the fourth quarter, Bobby needs Coach Klein to dial something up and allow the offense to put something on the board. And eventually, the offense is able to get themselves in the end zone to take back the lead. So Bobby and his defense are back out on the field, and they're just trying their best. Because they know that all it takes is one big play, and they could end this game. And this interception right here might just do it. But of course it doesn't, because LSU's offense is terrible. And the defense is right back out on the field to try to end the game once again. And finally, they do. And although the job is not quite finished, LSU can celebrate that they are moving on to the national championship. But before the big game, Bobby actually had a big argument with Mama. Because she told him that she doesn't want him to see Vicky Valancourt no more. Because Mama was afraid that Bobby wouldn't keep loving her. But at this point, Bobby loved Vicky Valancourt too. And it was about time that Bobby let Mama know that.
And I like Vicky, and she likes me back. And she showed me her boobies, and I like them too.
And after that, Bobby went off to go upgrade his run stopping, and he got to 99 tackling. And he felt like he was going to need it before getting into the biggest game of his life against Coach Red Boy U and the Georgia Bulldogs.
And college football immortality, a moment that every young football player grows up dreaming about. And these two teams have survived the expanded playoff grind. They have battled through a regular season, multiple playoff victories, all sorts of challenges and adversity, and they've arrived at this moment, the battle for that precious trophy. As we'll see the #6 seed in this playoff, the Georgia Bulldogs, taking on another team from the SEC, the LSU Tigers.
We start this game off not in the backfield, but Bobby Boucher gets a pick to set the tone for this LSU defense. But for whatever reason, the Georgia wide receivers are trying to taunt Bobby.
Ooh, I'm a football player.
Not a great plan. But Georgia was still looking pretty good as they were able to find a man open downfield. But they were having a hard time getting the job done on this drive because Bobby Boucher was staying in that backfield. And so was Bobby's best teammate, Tylen Singleton. Now up 7, Bobby and the defense wanted to just continue applying pressure. And they did a great job getting a sack here to get right off the field. Georgia was now finding themselves in a bad position, but they were able to complete a pass even though Bobby Boucher was right in the quarterback's face. And the quarterback was honestly someone that Bobby wished played for his team because he was making some crazy plays. And he led his team into the end zone to close this gap. On the following drive on 3rd down, Bobby does a great job sniffing out the screen and putting an end to that drive. And now after halftime up 20, Bobby could really feel how close he was to a national championship. Just how this Georgia running back could really feel this hit from Bobby. Georgia gears back up the next drive to move down the field, but their quarterback must have lost some of his mojo because they throw an interception. And you can see Coach Redboy U is not happy because when Bobby Boucher is coming your way, it is probably not going to be a good day.
How about compliment of Captain Insano?
But the Georgia running back would get a little bit of redemption on this play because he does a nice spin move and gets himself downfield. And with Georgia continuing to push further downfield, Bobby and this Tiger defense didn't want to get too comfortable because Georgia found himself in the end zone once again. And although Bobby Boucher was really coming for that title, so was Georgia. And they got themselves in the end zone once again to put some pressure on LSU.
Oh no! We suck again!
And now with their back up against the wall, Georgia is trying to make a play ASAP. But LSU comes up with another interception on this game. And at this point, it was not looking too good for Georgia. I mean, it would take a miracle, but Coach Klein's green playbook that Coach Redboy U now has was definitely capable of pulling off some miracles, as Georgia found themselves in the end zone to help cut down this lead. But after this play, the offense goes back out on the field and is able to run out the clock.
I can't believe it! I can't believe it!
And Bobby Boucher and the LSU Tigers are now national champions. Bobby Boucher went from being bullied as the WaterBoy for Coach Redboy U's old team to now beating him in the national championship as the best player on the entire field. And this is just a real beautiful moment for Bobby Boucher and Coach Klein. As you can see, Coach Klein packed on a few pounds due to the stress of the season. And Bobby knows Mama's in the crowd watching, so as he holds up the national championship trophy, he can only think of one thing to say.
I love Mama!
And now that Bobby Boucher is a national champion, and LSU is the #1 team in the country, Bobby decides to look at his stats compared to the other players in the country, and he sees that he is head and shoulders above everybody else. And now that Bobby Boucher is set to graduate, he can either come back for one more season, transfer to another school, or enter the NFL draft. But things got even better for Bobby after the national championship, because not only did Bobby and Vicky Valancourt get married, but Bobby had found out that his daddy Roberto was alive. And he even showed up to Bobby's wedding to try to convince him to go to the NFL.
Bobby, it's me, your daddy, Roberto. You know, I seen you on the ESPN when they was talking about you being drafted by the NFL.
And although Mama definitely had to get her lick in, because Roboito had deserted them. She didn't think going to the NFL was too bad of an idea.
I'm gonna go do it.
Because since Bobby's already graduated, now it's time for him to go to the NFL and take his talents to Madden. The first thing that Bobby has to do when he gets to the NFL is work out at the scouting combine. Bobby's never been too far outside of Louisiana before, but he came to Lucas Oil Stadium ready to do what he had to do. And his first workout was the 40-yard dash. You see, Bobby was just learning how to do this only a couple minutes before, so you might be surprised to find out that when he got down in his stance, he got off to a perfect start. He was running down the track like Steve used to do when he was a racehorse. Bobby ended up finishing with a 4.35, which is blazing fast for a linebacker. He then moved on to the bench press, and Bobby always had that sort of country strength in him, so he wasn't too surprised to see that he got 20 reps. And then he moved on to the shuttle and the broad jump. Broad jump he didn't do too bad in, but the shuttle he actually did really well in, ending up with a 4.22. He finished off with some miscellaneous drills before the scouts told him that they thought he did really well today. And after the workout, Bobby had agreed to do a combine interview where people would ask him some football questions. And Bobby actually knew some of the answers from the interview because his teammates told him back at LSU. And other times they would just ask him personal questions, like why he wants an alligator to represent an NFL team.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
And Bobby ended up doing okay on the interview. He was still projected to be a top 10 pick. But when we got to draft day, when you look at the board, it seems like Bobby's already slid to 18th. So he's just sitting there waiting until he gets a call from Coach Klein in the Cincinnati Bengals, telling Bobby that he got a new job in Cincinnati and that he wants him there. And although Bobby doesn't even know where Cincinnati is, he tells Coach that he's ready to go. And finally, Bobby Boucher gets to walk across the stage and start his journey into the NFL. After the draft was over, Bobby signed his contract and had a talk with Coach Klein about what to focus on this preseason. Because just because Bobby made it to the NFL, that didn't mean he had nothing to prove. Because Coach Klein had basically gave him the starting job even though he was a 65 overall. So Bobby Boucher was looking to play well, going into his first NFL action in the preseason against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now that Bobby's finally in the NFL, he decided that he needs to stay locked in and just see what's in front of him. So starting off Bobby Boucher's NFL career here off from 1st and 10, he's seeing pretty quickly how good this Bengals defense could really be. Because not even 3 plays in, this Bengals defense is already forcing a safety. But Bobby wanted to prove that he can make an impact on this team too. So right here on 1st and 10, you see Bobby Boucher bursting into the backfield to get the first tackle for loss of his career. And Bobby is making it very clear that he's not going to be scared of anybody. The Buccaneers did make some pretty good plays this game, like this pass that went up the middle. But Bobby was doing a great job making an impact early enough in this game that Coach Klein decided it was best to take the rest of the starters out, because they've seen enough to know that Bobby Boucher is going to do big things in this league. But being in the NFL now, reporters are going to want to ask questions all the time now. Like one reporter had asked Bobby how it feels starting his first season with the Bengals. And Bobby just told him that he's honored to be playing and have an opportunity to make more friends. But before Bobby got into his first regular season game in the NFL, he went on ahead about upgrading his ratings. And the first thing that he decided to upgrade was his hit power, because he knows that's one thing that's going to come mostly in handy for him in the NFL. And now Bobby was excited as ever going into his first regular season game against the New England Patriots. Starting this game off later in the first quarter, this Drake May-led New England Patriots team was not playing very well, finding themselves way behind sticks by the time the first 4th down came along. But now down 10, this Patriots team was doing their best to move the ball on Bobby's Bengals defense. And for a couple plays, they were doing pretty well, getting themselves down past midfield. But as New England continued to move downfield, somebody on this Bengals defense was going to have to make a play. So who else but Bobby Boucher with the first pick of his NFL career. Everybody's so excited that even Drake May's happy for him. You can't help but feel like this is just going to be the first of many, and Bobby Boucher will continue to make plays just like this one. Bobby's Bengals found themselves up 20, and New England was having a pretty hard time moving the ball now. And it definitely didn't make it easy when they tried to throw it to Bobby's zone across the middle. But eventually New England would find some success in this game, eventually getting themselves down into the red zone, and then ultimately into the end zone for their first score of the game. But after the Bengals offense kept scoring, and New England's offense kept finding ways to turn the ball over, it eventually became enough for Bobby's Bengals to win their first game of their regular season. But before Bobby gets into his next game, he gets another interview from a reporter asking Bobby where he finds the most success during the game.
That's a good question. What happens is the center has the ball first, and quarterback will say hike. That's when the center puts the ball into the hands of the quarterback. So what I'll do is I'll start tackling the quarterback unless he give the ball to somebody else, in which case I'll try to tackle that person.
What the hell?
And now that Bobby was done with the interview, he was ready to get into his next game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Starting this game off in the rain on 1st and 10. And his Bengals defense came ready today because they pick off Patrick Mahomes on the very first play. But obviously with Mahomes being Mahomes and the Chiefs being the Chiefs, you can always expect that they're going to make a few plays of their own. By the second quarter, Bobby was making his presence felt by getting a nice tackle for loss here on 1st down, and then stopping the ball carrier right in his tracks here on 2nd down. Eventually, this Bengals defense would hold them to a field goal, and luckily they would hold this Chiefs offense pretty much all game. There was a few plays where Coach Klein got suspicious of the Chiefs and figured that maybe they're paying off the refs. And then there was the play where Travis Kelce started making fun of Bob.
Hey, moron! Dude! Look at me! I'm the WaterBoy, dude!
Stop making fun of me.
Damn!
Bobby had pretty much knocked Travis into next Sunday. But for now, they had to finish the game that was being played on this Sunday, and it wasn't going to be easy. Especially playing against a team that felt like they could score any time that they wanted to.
And that's caught inside the 35. And he takes this one into the end zone.
But luckily, the scoring was a little too late for the Chiefs, and Bobby's Bengals were able to escape Arrowhead with a victory. The following week at practice, one of Bobby's teammates pulls him to the side and tells him that he believes he's going to dominate this game. And Bobby just appreciates that people actually believe in him like that.
Thanks, friend.
And Bobby definitely didn't want to let anybody down. So he went into next week fired up and ready to go against the Washington Commanders. Starting this game off on 2nd and 6, Bobby Boucher is finding himself in the backfield for a tackle for loss. And the rest of Bobby's defense was really doing their thing as well, because they didn't let the Commanders pass their own 40-yard line up until the 4th quarter. But even right here on this 4th and 5, when they were trying to keep moving down the field, it was Bobby Boucher who would say, "No way." And not only put an end to that drive, but give him the 2nd pick of his season. And with Bobby's Bengals absolutely dominating Jaden Daniels and the rest of this Washington Commander offense, it was no surprise that after this big hit, the Commanders were ready to give up, and Bobby's Bengals would walk out of the stadium with their first shutout victory of the season. But this NFL season was moving fast, and maybe a little too fast, because next thing he knew, Bobby was already getting into his next game against the Carolina Panthers. And as more weeks went by, the more Bobby missed his mama. But Bobby doesn't have time to worry about that right now, because we start this game off on 1st and 10, where Carolina completes a big pass upfield. Bobby would find himself a little bit distracted on this play, because he just watches as the running back walks into the end zone for a touchdown. But the Bengals did bounce back. Maybe not so much on offense, but on defense they did get a stop next drive. And eventually they were able to force a field goal not just once, but twice before the first half.
Patterson's kick is good.
But I think Carolina could tell that Bobby's heart and spirit was not really in it this game, because they were doing a good job driving down the field here on first down, and eventually they would punch it in from goal to goal to extend their lead. But that didn't mean Bobby would give up, because he would rush into the backfield to stop the quarterback for a loss. But right here, Bobby is not focused, and he allows a big first down right here from Carolina that pretty much ends this game. And as you can see, Bobby is running off the field before the time runs out. Yeah, he's not really taking this loss too well. Although he missed his mama, Bobby knew that he still had a job to do. So he still worked hard and trained to get better. And that helped him prepare for his next game against the Baltimore Ravens. Going into this Ravens game, Coach Klein tells Bobby that Lamar Jackson is one of the fastest players in the league, and a good way to stop him is to get to him before he goes anywhere. So Bobby tries his best here to start this game off, and is able to get his first sack of his NFL career. Bobby's Bengals would get a stop on this drive before letting up an absolute bomb of a play down the middle on the next. But the Bengals did a great job holding the Ravens to a field goal. And even down at the goal line, Bobby was doing everything he could to make sure that the Ravens did not get into the end zone.
Who that? Who there?
But the Ravens were admittedly persistent, not only getting into the end zone here on this drive, before making it down into the red zone the next drive, before Lamar Jackson throws a pick into the end zone with 30 seconds left that would ultimately seal the deal, allowing Bobby and the Bengals to finish out the week with another victory. But before Bobby got into his next game, he wanted to start his ratings over from scratch, because he realized that if he diversifies his talents, he could potentially make a bigger impact all over the field. So Bobby wanted to balance out his skills going into his next game against the New York Giants. Starting this game off on first down, Bobby is already making an impact, getting into the backfield for a TFL. And Bobby's Bengals really never let up on Daniel Jones this day, because they would continuously find themselves in the backfield screaming at his face, and even eventually forcing a fumble like they did right here on this play. And this Bengals player was able to pick the ball up and go all the way to the other side of the field for a Cincinnati Bengal touchdown. And this just felt like another game where almost the entire game, Bobby's Bengals did not allow the opponent to even step past midfield. And that would be 100% true for this game, other than the one drive where the Giants were able to find some success getting downfield and eventually into the end zone to tie the game up. But after another half where the Giants had either gone continuously 3 and out or turned the ball over just like they did here on this play, eventually this game was well out of reach, and Bobby's Bengals were ready to leave New York with another victory. The following week at practice, Coach Klein pulls Bobby aside to tell him that he's not going to be there for a couple weeks, but not to ask why. And although Bobby did think that was weird, he didn't really have time to think about it too much, because his quarterback Joe Burrow also pulled him aside. Apparently Nick Chubb had called him out.
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
But you see, Bobby don't play that. So Bobby and the Bengals went into their next game against Cleveland, fired up and ready to go. We start this game off on 1st and 10 where Bobby's Bengals are living in the backfield. But Nick Chubb had started this game with his X Factor on, and he was looking for something to prove of his own. But when Bobby heard about what Deshaun Watson did with all those girls at the massage parlor, he knew he had to make them pay. So right here, Bobby drops back into coverage and says, "Hey, this ain't no massage parlor, Deshaun. There ain't gonna be no happy ending today." But Bobby wasn't done yet, because he wanted to make everybody pay. By forcing a fumble right here that gets picked up by the Bengals. But for some reason, this guy Nick Chubb thinks it's a good idea to start talking crazy to Bobby again.
Ooh, I'm a football player.
Coach, I'd like to tackle him right now.
And that wasn't a good idea. And right as you think it can't get worse for the Browns, Deshaun Watson throws another pick. And Bobby Boucher is lighting Nick Chubb up once again. Now the Browns did get into the end zone a couple times in the fourth quarter. But by the end of the game, Cleveland knew that it was a bad idea to start talking crazy to Bobby's Bengals. as they were handed a 27-15 divisional loss. But that game was nothing, not compared to the huge matchup the Bengals had going into next week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Starting this game off on second down, Bobby is making his presence felt with a big hit, and did a great job finding himself in the backfield early, taking Saquon Barkley down to the ground. But the Philadelphia Eagles would prove to be a worthy opponent by scoring a touchdown on their opening drive. And this game would remain a low-scoring game throughout the majority of the first half, because although the Eagles found themselves back at the goal line, Bobby's Bengals were able to hold them to a field goal this time. And when Philadelphia once again made their way back into goal-to-goal territory, Bobby made sure to put a stop to that single-handedly, and it almost looked like two of his teammates wanted to marry him for it. But perhaps that was a little premature, because Philadelphia would find themselves in the end zone later on in the fourth quarter, leaving it up to the Bengals offense to regain the lead back, which they did. But the secondary unit of Bobby's Bengals defense was not focused this game, and that became evidently clear in the fourth quarter as they let up another touchdown, allowing the Eagles to take the lead back with around 30 seconds left. But one thing that Bobby never had at LSU that he definitely has here is an offense that can score almost any time that they need to. And Bobby Boucher can't help but be incredibly grateful for that, because as Philadelphia throws up this last Hail Mary, he knows that as the ball hits the turf, the main reason why the Bengals have won this game is because of the offense, and he could never really say that back in LSU. But Bobby didn't have too much time to celebrate, because he and the Cincinnati Bengals needed to finish out their home stretch against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders came out this game stronger than Bobby thought they would, as he was introduced to one of the better receivers in the league, Devontae Adams. But Bobby's Bengals were able to put a stop to the Raiders' opening drive and force them to just a field goal. And the Bengals' defense would continue to prevent points on third down, or at least hold the Raiders to a field goal without Bobby having to ever really get involved. But Bobby would begin to make his mark in this game right here on 2nd and inches by laying a big hit to the running back. But by the fourth quarter, Bobby had sense that the Raiders were about to break. So he rushed through the line of scrimmage and said "twang" on the running back, forcing a fumble and allowing Cincinnati to pick the ball up and put some more points on the board. And he would continue to do his thing on the next drive, laying the perfect boomstick right here on the tight end. But then out of nowhere, the Raiders were able to find a man downfield who took it all the way into the end zone for a touchdown, bringing this game just a little bit closer. But when Bobby Boucher was lurking around the middle, ready to take your head off, and I guess there wasn't really much that could be done, especially if you're Gardner Minshew. So Bobby's Bengals would win another game at home 20-13, and they were riding high going into the back half of the season. But going into the following week, Bobby decided to mess around with some of his abilities to see what could potentially help him make a bigger impact. And he figured he would need it going into another divisional game against the Baltimore Ravens. We start this game off with Bobby's Bengals doing a pretty good job on defense throughout the first quarter. But the Ravens were showing some real determination throughout this game, finding themselves in a position to get in the end zone and take this lead in the second quarter. But Bobby knew the best way to respond would be by putting Derrick Henry in the dirt. The rest of the defense followed Bobby's lead by putting an end to the drive on back-to-back Ravens possessions. Sometimes, though, Bobby would be too busy thinking about mama, because sometimes he would let the team down by letting up a big play, like he did right here. A lot of times his team would have his back, though, getting in position to get an interception and get the Bengals offense in position to put points up. And even when the two-time MVP Lamar Jackson has an opportunity to bring the Ravens back in this game, he can't help but succumb to Bobby's Bengals defense, as they pick him off and return the ball all the way to the other side for a touchdown to extend this lead and end this game. And with the Bengals now having taken care of the Ravens twice this year, Bobby was pretty excited to fly out to Los Angeles for his first time ever and take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Bobby's Bengals did not get off to a good start this game, allowing a touchdown early on the Chargers' opening drive. They would regain some momentum by preventing points backed up on their goal line by forcing a turnover on Justin Herbert right here. But in the first half, the Bengals just did not seem to be too locked in. Bobby would, though, begin to make his mark by helping his teammate make a tackle right here on this play. But for some reason, it just seemed like the Chargers were having their way with the Bengals, finding themselves in the end zone for the third time in one half. But Bobby was doing everything he could to keep his Bengals alive, even if that meant smacking the horseradish out of a running back, forcing a fumble to create a turnover. But with the Bengals not scoring and the Chargers continuing to move downfield, it was only a matter of time before this game got out of hand. And to say that it got out of hand was kind of an understatement. Because before you knew it, the Chargers had put up 49 points on Bobby's Bengals defense. And Bobby didn't really know how to handle it at first, so he just sat on the bench after the game. And he figured maybe if he just continues trading harder, he might forget about how much he misses Mama, while also getting better at football. And it was something that Bobby felt like he was going to need going into one of his last home games of the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Starting this game on first down, Bobby is absolutely destroying this poor ball carrier. Now, I don't think he feels too bad about it, because later on in this drive, he does it again. The Bengals would force Pittsburgh to a missed field goal before Bobby got right back to giving the Steelers running back CTE. And to his credit, Bobby was really doing his part this game. I mean, he was getting in the backfield and trying to make a play almost every series. But the Bengals were having a hard time scoring this game, and the Steelers unfortunately didn't. But it wasn't just the offense or the defense that was playing bad. Because at the end of the day, the Bengals still didn't have Coach Klein. So when they could have called a timeout to give themselves a chance, nobody decided to do it, leaving Bobby's Bengals with another loss on their record. But Bobby knew the home stretch of the season was coming, and he was a little bit closer to going home to see Mama. So Bobby continued to do the best that he could at practice, preparing for his next couple games on the road, first of which is against the Dallas Cowboys. Bobby's Bengals were looking to bounce back by making big plays early on in this game. But the Dallas Cowboys were no slouch of a team, because Dak Prescott was finding men open left and right, and eventually he found one in the end zone for a touchdown. But Bobby wanted to make sure that they didn't lose anymore. So right here, he dropped back into coverage and said, "Wayne!" And right before halftime, Bobby Boucher is racing down the sideline, going for the first touchdown of his NFL career. And it was a great thing that Bobby really showed up this game, because his daddy Roberto actually told him that the reason why he abandoned him and his mama back in the day is because he lost a bunch of money betting on the Dallas Cowboys in the 80s. So now Bobby wanted revenge on the Cowboys for ruining his family. And Ezekiel Elliott is there to pay for it right here. But once again, the Dallas Cowboys didn't seem to be a team full of punks, as they continued to drive down the field and punch it in on a running play right here. But with the Bengals offense able to take the ball and chew the clock out, they were able to escape Dallas with a victory. But at practice the next week, Coach Klein returned, and he told Bobby that it's probably best that he doesn't go home to Mama for a couple weeks. And although Bobby thought that was crazy, he had to worry about that after, because for now he had a big game against the Tennessee Titans. We start this game off on first down where Bobby is just playing out of his mind, and he wants to get this game over with quick. So on this play, he drops back into coverage and says, "Yeah!" Taking this interception back to the house for his second pick six in 2 weeks. But Bobby wasn't done yet, because he still wanted to let out some frustration. The Bengals defense continued to play almost as well as they have all season, by snatching another interception and going back to the crib for a pick six. And although the Titans would put their little points up and make this game somewhat close, this game was pretty much over before it started, because Bobby, well, he was ready to go contact his mama and try to see what was going on. He just couldn't understand why Coach Klein would tell him not to go see his mama, and Bobby just did not feel right about that. So he went on home anyway, and accepted any fines that his team was sending his way. And Bobby was shocked to find out what he saw when he got home, because it turns out that Coach Klein and Mama are seeing each other, and they try to convince him that it was okay, but Bobby left anyway. And now going into the final stretch of the season, Bobby Boucher was nowhere to be found, and now Bobby's Bengals were starting to struggle without him. as they lost some of their last few games. They didn't really know what their identity was now, and plus they were all just real worried about Bobby. There was some reports about Bobby riding around on a lawnmower, but without Bobby Boucher, the Bengals would finish out their season with another loss against the Steelers. Eventually though, Bobby would come back, and Coach Klein would tell him that he's sorry for not telling him about his mama, and that they were both looking for the right time to tell Bobby. Bobby does find a way to understand, and puts it all behind him in order to focus on his new friends that he's made here in Cincinnati. So he gets right back to crushing it at practice, before getting into his first playoff game against Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. Starting this playoff game in the first quarter, Bobby Boucher feels like a new man. He's got clarity about what's going on with Coach Klein and his mama, and he's giving the Chargers clarity about putting them to sleep. You see, Bobby had never felt as locked in for a game like he was this game. He felt like he was making plays all over the field, whether it was stopping people right in their tracks, or dropping back into coverage and saying, "Hey, give me that ball!" Intercepting Justin Herbert to put his offense in position to finally put points up in this game. And just because they do, it doesn't mean the Chargers offense is going to give up, because they remember how bad they beat the Bengals early on in the year. So they feel like all they got to do is just keep moving down the field, and eventually they'll find themselves in the end zone.
That's completed right side to Palmer. Touchdown, Chargers.
And the Chargers really just showed exactly how much they were feeling that by going for a long touchdown later on right here in the second quarter. But Bobby didn't want this Bengals season to end just yet. He felt bad for missing a few games, so he did everything they could to extend their season by any means necessary.
Our bomb, compliment of Captain Insano.
But the rest of Bobby's Bengals were not locked in as they drop an interception right here that could have definitely changed the outcome of this game. Bobby finds himself out of position, allowing a huge play down the field halfway through the fourth. And was maybe a couple feet here from getting another interception in this game. But instead, the drive ends with points for the Chargers. And now with the hands of the Bengals offense, all Bobby can do is watch as Joe Burrow tries his best to lead this offense down the field and take back the lead, which eventually they do. And Bobby came out trying to set the tone for his defense by laying some big hits. And it seemed to work as the Bengals defense was able to hold the Chargers to 3 points in this drive. But now going into Bobby's first overtime of his NFL career, he sees that the Chargers elected to receive. So Bobby knows that his defense needs to make some plays here in order to give the offense a chance. And although Bobby rocks Justin Herbert here, he gets the first down. And although Bobby absolutely rocks the ball carrier here, they pick up that set of first downs. And Bobby would continue this trend of causing brain damage, before forcing a fumble that is immediately picked up by the Chargers. Luckily for the Bengals, though, the Chargers would miss this field goal. But the offense was unable to score, giving the Chargers another opportunity to go downfield and take this game on the road. But I think someone had other plans, because right here he drops back into coverage and Bobby Boucher intercepts the pass, and he's going into the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, can you believe this? This has got to be one of the craziest victories in Bengals history. You see Coach Klein and Bobby hyped, and they got to pick up Justin Herbert off the floor. And you see Bobby's Bengals celebrating in the locker room because they are excited that they are moving on to the next round. And looking at the playoff bracket, they're all just excited to see who they're playing next. And at practice that week, Joe Burrow just tells Bobby how much he appreciates him.
Thank you all so much for being my friend.
And that's the kind of love and support the Bengals would need to give each other going into the biggest game of the season against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Starting this game off on second down, the Chiefs are showing exactly why they're in the position they're in, completing a huge pass downfield to move the sticks. But Bobby's Bengals were ready to show up too, forcing a fumble that resulted in a turnover. Mahomes would continue to pick apart this defense though. completing another big pass all the way downfield. In the second quarter, Travis Kelce was able to bring the Chiefs to the goal line, where Patrick Mahomes found Hollywood Brown in the end zone for a touchdown. Now trailing in this game, Bobby's Bengals knew that they couldn't keep allowing big plays. But by the end of the first half, the Chiefs took a 2-possession lead. And after the defense finally gets one of their first stops on third down all game, it was nice to see that the offense was still alive and able to put up points. But unfortunately, although Bobby would work to get a stop here, Bobby's Bengals were no match for the Chiefs today, as they kicked the field goal with under 20 seconds left to extend the lead to 2 possessions, resulting in Bobby Boucher's rookie season coming to a close. After the game, Bobby is being interviewed by some of the reporters, and he made some comments that might make people suggest that he wants to be out of there, stating that some changes need to be made. Well, I'm not exactly sure what that means quite yet, but for now we find out that Mahomes wins MVP, and Bobby Boucher actually comes 7th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Definitely not bad for his rookie year. But of course, Bobby Boucher ends up winning Defensive Rookie of the Year himself. I mean, there is a reason why they call it Bobby's Bengals. In the Super Bowl, the Packers did find a way to take down the Chiefs, finally bringing the Lombardi back home. And as far as Bobby's stats for the season, I mean 66 total tackles with 18 TFLs and 5 interceptions. Maybe if Bobby plays those 3 games, he actually wins Defensive Player of the Year. Hopefully Bobby can improve on that, but that's really up to you guys. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Bobby Boucher. And also comment down below who or what else you guys want to see next. If you got to this point in the video, just know that I appreciate you more than you know. And other than that, I'll catch you guys next time.